Mitch, do you mind giving the invocation?
Okay.
Please believe it.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Father, thank you for the day that we've all enjoyed. Pray that you be with us now as we look into the finances of the county of the next year and how to do it all. Pray that you guide our thoughts and give us a good ending process. It's in your name we pray.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Also aye. At this point, we'll go to the VDOT 6-year plan, 24 Little Rusty Road. Mr. Boyd.
But you got this. I'm gonna walk through the options they have.
It's this sheet you have here. And what Mr. Williams has asked for us to do is to go ahead and give what you all would like to see as an option so that they can go ahead and be working on it. They asked for this option to be given to them by the first of next week. And so if we can get it done today, that'd be great.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do we know at what time period these roads were put on the list? Because it looks like Saddle Creek is highlighted and Rimrock Lane is highlighted. And I know they just got put on the list at our last meeting.
The reason they're highlighted, that's one of the options that they've highlighted. It doesn't mean
Okay.
anything. Doesn't mean anything.
Do we have a chronological order of when they were put on the list? Seems like the past couple of years, folks have said, well, I've been on the list for 4 years and nothing's happened there.
I can't, no, I don't think they have, most of these, a lot of these were just put on the last board meeting or maybe the last year, the 6-year plan. Some of these actually came on in. A lot of these came on from the last board meeting from you all. But as far as chronological list, I'm not aware of one. I could ask that.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, I'd hate to see my suggestion of Saddle Creek be first on the list to go this year when maybe Hickory Lane's been on there for 4 years.
I actually think
It's not.
Yeah, I actually think Hickory Lane just got put on this year.
I think
I don't see any on here that I think they're actually on it. Because I know the ones that I've proposed are.
There's none of these that you're all considering that are on the 6-year plan at this point.
So the ones that are on the 6-year plan are already on the 6-year.
They're already on.
This is a new,
These are
This is what we're.
this is
These are
new,
These will come in behind.
the ones that are currently in place.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Do we know of these which have been asking to be on the plan the longest? I think that might be what he's,
Well, I thought that's what he was asking, and I don't know that. That's why I think most of them are just,
But nothing on this list will get done this year.
no,
Okay.
they're gonna, matter of fact,
It'll be
these will
6 or
go
7.
on the 6-year plan last. So you got a 6-year plan with all these roads.
I
The
apologize
ones
for
that those
being
people
confused.
have been asking us about, look,
The
we've
ones
been on
that are
here for
on it.
years, they're already in place. This is a new ring.
As they drop off,
Yeah,
you know,
new
as they
ring.
drop off 6-year plan, then this bunch will come on behind them. So you've already got your order of how they're going to
Yeah,
process.
I apologize.
No problem.
For being
Now,
confused on that.
okay, so once again, what's in the orange is just an option that they highlighted. That if you was to want to do that option, you'll see 1, 2, 4, 7, and 10. If you go over here to the right-hand side, that option could be done, and you're gonna only be in the hole $18,605, and you're gonna get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roads done. But you'd be in the hole $18,605. So next year, when the money came out, they would finish up funding that option. 18,605 would have to come off of next year's money to finish off. Now, if you wanted to do straight order 1, 2, 3, you see that option, you're gonna be in the whole $83,855.
But not for a number of years.
That's right.
No, yeah,
And the
They
total
will fund.
mileage is the same, correct?
do what?
Option,
820,
yeah, priority, so option 1 and option 2,
the
end
money
up,
is the same.
they're the total miles of road.
Pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you see, you only get 3 roads done because of the mileage. Beaver Point. Look how much Beaver Downs almost 2 mile long.
Right. But then you got several that are like a quarter of a mile.
Yeah, you could pick out, if you want to pick out all these .60s, .24, .27, the less mileage, the more roads you're gonna get done. So this doesn't have to be your only 2 options. You all can make your options from 1 through 14, however you want to.
But this is just gonna go on the plan, and these numbers are gonna change by the time.
It gets to it.
Oh, yeah.
So, it really doesn't matter what we're picking what goes on the
You're
6-year
picking
plan,
what
but we're
goes
not
on.
picking to fund any of them because those prices are gonna change.
Those prices will change in 6 years. You see since COVID, what prices have done. And in 6 years now, if we stay in this economy, just imagine what the prices are gonna be 6 years from now.
Anybody have a preference?
I like option 2 because we prioritized in the last meeting those 1, 2, and 3. So that would give us 1, 2, and 3. We're looking at the same total of miles, so keep those 3 up there. And
I've
just
got
keep moving.
no issue with that.
So that's just
That's
me.
fine. We'll address those next year.
You need a motion to approve this?
That'd probably be good. I can tell them.
I'll make a motion, we approve option 2, prioritizing 1, 2, and 3 on the chart.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Is that all you needed for that one?
That makes it easy.
Okay. Then we go into FY 24-25 general operation budget. Mr. Ford?
Yes, sir. We've got a PowerPoint up.
So this meeting today is supposed to cover the general fund operational budget, which will include revenues and expenditures.
First thing I just want to show you, you have a sheet in front of you, okay?
I call this the cheat sheet.
Yeah. You have this printed out just so it keeps you, kind of help you think through what the different taxes are, revenues are, and how they're lumped together. You don't have to look at it right now, but at some point you'll want to refer to that so you can kind of help gather your thoughts.
And just as an example, everything highlighted in yellow is a total classification on the revenue up here, okay? So when you see the slide that has general property taxes, these are all the taxes in it. Other local taxes, and these are the detail of what you're gonna be looking at on the screen.
Does that make sense to everybody? Let's talk for a little bit before we get into these. We'll walk you through that. We'll walk you through some numbers. And then if you want to get into more details, we can.
Just like a consumption tax, help me out with consumption.
Consumption tax is the tax that's collected by the state of Virginia for, you should see a consumption tax on your telephone bill. And they remit it, your telephone and electric, and they remit it to the state, the companies do, and then the state remits it to us.
Okay. Force family fund.
I think I've seen that before on the tax.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the goals. We briefed this slide before, just so we make sure we're on the same page here. What you've asked us, what we've heard and what you've asked us to do is to evaluate tax rate and fees for efficiency. Okay. Focus spending on priority projects. We've heard that multiple times. Focus spending on priority projects and priority projects alone. plan for the future, be proactive on things that we have to be proactive on. Priorities are 911 stabilization and broadband, and emergency medical services in Grayson County. We all are kind of aware of the issues that we're facing with the EMS, and the schools continue to be a priority. Okay, next slide. Okay. Here's the things that we know of today, the numbers that we're facing today. Our school commitment this year, was a 3-year commitment. It's again this year at $1.2 million. So remember, there's 354 going into for them to use for
2.2.
this year. 1.2 this year's going.
Oh,
1.2 is going in this year.
I got it. Sorry, I thought we were talking about the CI.
It's okay. The total amount going above RLE is $1.2 million. Not
Just for this year,
just for this
not the
year.
cumulative of
Gotcha.
all years.
But this is the last year of the additional over 375 or whatever it is.
So remember, we're 375 above LRE, and then 784 is going in this year. So that's 1.2
And
million.
then this is the last year that we had the agreement to do it because the ESSER money will be gone after this budget.
To 2025.
So that gives them, at the end of this 3-year period, they will have a CIP fund of $2.2 million.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I heard some talk about the factor or multiplier, whatever they use for determining this being changed by the state.
It was,
Is that exactly what
our
it
required contribution went down.
went down?
Mhm.
Okay.
That doesn't happen much.
Yeah, not much. But you'll see, she's got a slide in here, you'll see how the school budget has increased over the years in the numbers. Some of it's gonna be, God, you keep using these words to Nikki, and she's like, there's so many squishy pieces here that you're like trying to nail down all the time. And so, but we'll show you some slides that kind of help walk through the numbers. But this year again, we're committed above RLE, $1.2 million. It's a 3rd-year commitment. Now they're gonna we'll walk through this a little bit, but they're gonna ask for part of that money this year to work on the welding base. The board has to make the decision on whether to allow that money to go this year or not, okay? EMS cost of commitment, right now. So we've skinnied the budget, we've looked at the budget, we tried to take some cuts already into the budget, knowing what the priorities are. And the initial bluff on EMS this year is another $350,000. Okay? Just something you think about. Gas Grayson EMS is up. We're adding a person in EMS, there's cost in that. So $350,000 extra is what's going into the EMS budget right now. Go ahead.
Do we have any data on the new position that we hired for EMS?
So, if you're asking me to, if you're looking for how many calls answered, that type of stuff, I'll have to get back to you on that. We do have some data on it.
Well, and I know we haven't hired a second position, but one of the things we talked about was contingent upon,
Yeah.
was it a good return on investment to put the first position in?
We have hired the second position, have we
Yeah,
not?
we hired the second, we haven't hired the third.
Third, you authorized that 3rd position. We said, let's hold on that till we kind of take a look at the 2. And let's see how things play out. What we
And
know,
is that new position in the $350,000
Yes.
ask for this year? Okay.
Psych radio is in there.
the other, what we know is the refuse is operating at about a $250,000 deficit. I sent you an email. Now, one of the things that's interesting that I was under the assumption, I think, I was under the same assumption, I've been told that we were operating in a positive on Public Works. And I think that's what you were thinking.
Yeah, I've heard that every year.
I've been told that it was a break even.
Yeah, break even.
Mitch had said to me, he goes, I never thought that. I go, hey, I was clear. That's what had been told to me. So we went through the numbers at, as hard as we could go through them. And it's clear to me that we're operating in a deficit. A couple things that are causing a deficit. There was a decision made, the school's paying basically half of their trash fees right now. So they're getting about a $50,000 to $60,000
Right.
break on their trash fees right now. My opinion is that's an area we probably need to address. As you know, because you also, the trash and independence, we pick up, the public works is open twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, people will bring the trash up. It's about 125 loads a year. That's another $50,000 bill that it costs us, so there's about $100,000 right there. And there's, things have just got more expensive for trash. Recycling's down, we don't get as much for recycling, and so there's part of our deficit. Just to give you some background, our water fund, we all know our water fund, we're operating deficit somewhere around $185,000 to $200,000 deficit in our water fund. We have changed out the master meter. We know water losses. We're still operating at a 35% water loss. That's a problem. Well, I think it's something we'll need to talk about later on in our meeting. So I think we'll talk about water rates, where we're at with that, where you want to go with that. We also know the Littleville Lane project's moving forward. That's a $550,000 bill that we're going to pay. It's about 3/4 of a line, right? And so we're going to add water, but we're not really gaining enough customers to increase revenue for the Littleville Lane.
That 550,000 loss include any of the grant money?
So the first grant we got for Littleville Lane was $100,000. We've used that.
Okay.
This will be on our own. We either take it out of fund balance or take it out of ARPA or some other project that we've got on this later. 911 stabilization program, we're still really close to finalizing that. That's a $2.5 million. We're getting a loan, and we're using ARPA funds, tobacco funds, all the other funds we have, $2.5 million. So some of the projects listed that are out there right now, priority projects, we're talking about $5 million. The other thing I heard at the last meeting was the board wants to retain our 20% fund balance. We want to retain our 20% fund balance. That's what I heard. So that's one of the goals we set to do. And that's what we'll try to achieve this year. Okay?
And that's where we are.
And that's where we're at right now.
We need that.
With the budget that we currently have. Now we've got some decisions to make. Okay, next slide.
That's me. All right.
I guess one.
Oh,
Is there anything that I'm missing, that we are missing from the board on that last slide that you're aware of?
Well, you had mentioned the 250,000 deficit on revenue,
Yes.
but you told us 50,000 on the pickup on the weekends and the 50,000 for 56 for the school.
Yeah.
So we're still,
150.
yeah. Where's that?
Pick up was the other.
Well, we'll have to have a discussion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We don't know where that's at.
Well, we can, there's certainly things we can do. If we're going to offer those recommendations.
Okay. All right.
Unless you want to talk about them. now.
No, that's fine. I was just trying to
I got to try to keep track. of
keep
all.
it in all in numbers.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
okay. This slide is very similar to the one that I presented at the last meeting, with the exception of last meeting, the columns were, see, now you can't see it. 2025 estimate, 2024 estimate. I was comparing the two budget estimates. We received our financial report from 2023. So, a budget are estimates based on assumptions. I like to deal in actual numbers to compare to see where we're at with our, in comparison to our budget numbers. So these are the categories, like I mentioned, that are on this sheet. We got general property taxes, which is operating at we budgeted at a deficit of about 128,000. Other local taxes have gone up about 347,000 in our budget.
What is that?
Other local taxes, it's sales tax is the majority of the increase, and also transient occupancy tax, which used to be called lodging.
That top tax is about $110,000 we get from Airbnbs and things right now.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Higher than what we had budgeted
Yeah.
previously and what we used to receive. I think the Airbnbs have really kind of driven that number up. Permits and fees is not a real impact to our budget. We budgeted in $5,600 less. Again, it finds that the returns are a little bit lower in our budget estimates as well. The revenue from the use of money and property, it's been a long time in my career, but again, I think I said last meeting, that's interest income on cash deposits and investments. Which
And that's deposited into
a lot of it's in LGIP.
LGIP.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're estimating $650,000. That's a good lift.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an impact in the budget, which it hasn't been for me since 1998, I think. So,
Do they have like a set percentage or is it based off of prime plus or minus or?
yeah, and their rate actually changes daily. It's actually advertised on their website every day. I don't know what the calculation is on it. Right now, it's running a little over 5.
Mm,
Yeah. So,
there you go. We got any more money to put into that?
we may, I don't, that's a treasurer question.
Can you, that 20% fund balance that we have, how much of that needs to be liquid and how much of that can go into the LGIP?
That's funny you asked that. You'll be hearing the presentation next Thursday. I was surprised at how much of our fund balance actually we have in cash. It's the majority, there's a lot, I would say I'm over 100% of it is cash right now.
Would it make sense for that to be working for us somewhere in the LGIP? I mean, that's a pretty liquid fund. I mean, you can get it transferred.
Oh, yeah, you can do it daily. Yeah. To be honest with
Got a
you,
question I shouldn't ask.
it's a valid question and a good question. It's just a question for the treasurer because I'm
I
not.
mean, 20% is,
We don't have that, you realize that's not her, right?
Yeah, we.
No, I
Yeah.
get it. But I mean, 20% fund balance is $5.6 million. If it's gaining 5%,
Oh, yeah, it's not that. How about that? How about that?
well, the budget's 28
But I don't know what
million.
percentage of it we do have.
What's that?
I don't really know what the percentage of all of our cash is in LGIP right now, to be honest with you.
And that's all out of the treasurer's office.
Mhm.
So who would decide where, if I'm derailing this, I'm sorry.
No, you got me.
But I mean, if we're sitting on whatever the figure is,
Mhm.
5% on $6 million, if you say it's north of that, I mean, you're looking at 300, it's a pretty good chunk of change.
$659,000.
What's that?
659 is what we got.
Well, then there you go. It seems like we shouldn't have that money sitting in cash.
And we may not.
So
I mean-
who ultimately makes the decision of where the cash sits? Is it the treasurer?
Yes. By state code.
And do we have any, can we request that money sit somewhere else or?
Well, you can, but theoretically, without knowing what expenditures we have coming up, and that would be a very difficult thing for you all to do. Because you're not in the
Well,
day-to-day of
and
our check runs.
I'm not trying to micromanage
Yeah.
the money, but I mean, it seems to me if we have spare money sitting around and we take half of the fund balance and it's liquid and we can move it in and out of the LGIP every
They
day.
may have 80% in LGIP right now, to be honest with you.
Okay, we just
So, I
don't
mean,
know
they
We
that.
just need to
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, because right, at the end of 23, we had
We would like to know
almost $12.7 million in cash. So, and that's a
But
big
it could have been in the LGIP, you're
Well,
not,
I think a lot of it was, because I mean, I have to go in and send wire transfers for the direct deposits for the staff, and usually the balance in that account is only about 2. So I'm thinking they were already doing that.
okay. All right. They were getting in the weeds.
It would be-
Great job on making more money off the money.
Oh, I mean, I was excited. I called everybody in. I was like, I haven't seen this in a long time. Okay, charges for services, we budgeted down a little bit at 78,000. Deficit from what we collected in 2023. And also keep in mind, there's another year in between here, 2024 that we're in currently. So, intergovernmental, we have a reduction of 687.
Remember that's,
It's the grants.
we don't, so in intergovernmental, so you see the 23 actual there, 8.9.
Right here.
We're estimating 8 points. We don't know what grant money's coming. We don't know what Tracy goes out. We don't know what we get from the backup. So we can't put any money in there until we actually know. So those numbers, once we get into the year, we'll finalize those numbers. So that
And in that line item, does that have the opioid money and the casino money and,
Yes.
okay, that's where that goes.
Well,
is
opioids,
casino
actually.
money in there?
Casino money is in intergovernmental.
We know the casino is basically $600,000.
The opioid is actually in miscellaneous. It's just- Some of it's in miscellaneous.
That's what.
Because they don't come, your opioid money is not coming from government, it's coming from the private sector.
Yeah.
Mhm. For covered costs, or like shared costs from the city of Galax, we have a little bit of an increase budgeted in there at $56,000. Miscellaneous revenue, we have conservatively budgeted a little bit down, a reduction of $84,000. So the difference in our total revenue estimate versus what we actually collected in 2023 is a difference of about $276,000. So I think that's I think
We're basically flat. We're basically flat. What you guys probably need to understand is when you see miscellaneous, when she's talking about shared services. The way it works with Galax is we share certain services, sheriff's office.
treasurer, all the constitutional.
And so they pay us for those services, a percentage. Now, that's a debatable number, apparently.
To some people.
To some people, to us, it should be. We got an audit, which was paid 60%. That's this number, let's be 40. The last city manager tried to work hard for every piece of that. And Jonathan and Keith got to a hard about this. And so they came up with an agreement. It's a 5-year agreement. That agreement expired. We're going to try to come up with a new agreement, but it should be just a number. It's just math. But somehow we're having some challenges there.
Does that, in that,
That's $430,000.
And the new agreement starts this year.
Yes.
We haven't, we don't, and it's actually a state code requirement for them to pay, so we don't really have to have an agreement.
Yeah.
I didn't have an agreement. the
You shouldn't
first-
need one. It should be just,
Here's your number.
here's your number, this is what you pay. But
now is that a positive number, even though we share services with the Galax Grayson? Where does that number?
yeah,
Yeah, like
That's on the
that's
expenditures,
the expenditures.
and their fees have gone up.
There's no revenue.
Yeah.
Well, they were down when I was on there. Mitchell's on it now. I don't know what happened. That's when all the
Okay.
Any other questions on the revenue?
Bottom line, flat revenue is what you're talking about.
And there should be some shared services, I guess, with Town Freeze too.
I was gonna say,
And town
it's
and
increase.
Fence as well, trash.
Those are more contractual.
Yeah.
Mhm. But, and actually, those are charges for services,
Oh,
as opposed to recovered costs. Towns, it's only cities of the second class. It's only a specific, because, and it has to do with the fact that the people that reside in the city of Galax on the Grayson side vote in our elections, which is why they end up, state code requires them paying shared services to the county. Because they also benefit from these offices here, even though they don't live and pay taxes here. Does that make sense?
It does, but it doesn't. It's only set up in the state that's like that, from my understanding.
Wow.
No, there's one
Because we
other.
share with Carroll, there's another
Oh,
2 counties that share.
no. I think there's one other city of the second class. And that basically means, it was the way that they adopted their constitution in the city. So, because of that, they're required to pay. Now, I don't know how many cities have a split of 2 different counties. That may be,
I was told that was.
it may be
only
the only
set.
one in the state. Mhm.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay, good with expenses, we good?
no,
Oh.
no, revenue.
Obviously, I'm ready. I
Oh,
said
okay.
ready.
That was funny, 'cause I was like,
Yeah,
I
ready to
looked
roll.
over and I'm like,
Good with
okay.
revenues?
We can get to your slides
Next.
now.
I meant
Okay,
to say revenue, sorry.
all right, again, I will say, these are fiscal 23 actual, expenses paid versus our 2025 estimate. So some of these differences can look rather large.
Yeah, do you want to go through every one of them line by line? I'll wait for my question if you're going to do that.
I don't have to, I mean, if you would prefer to.
Well, education, why is it 1.4 more this year if the agreement's been the same and the state requirement is going down for education?
I don't think the state requirement, well, the composite index, that is it. I know, I'm so sorry. I drew a blank just like you did that night. just because our composite index went down doesn't mean that our required local effort went down.
But we've had the same agreement with the school for 3 years. Why-
That's above, this is just the RLE we're talking about, and what they have.
That's RLE and above RLE.
And if,
Oh, gotcha.
and
You're
if,
talking about.
You're talking about just above RLE.
Okay.
you help me out here. So the composite index, when they take that 1 cent and put it into schools, the 1 cent sales tax, isn't that affected by the composite index? You know what I'm talking about? We don't see that
We
here.
don't see that.
That goes straight to the schools.
Yeah.
But if that's lowered, then our requirement might have either stayed the same or been more.
Yeah.
I know some other counties were having some major issues with this. They were having to, like, by millions, I think in Franklin County. The state funding
Makeup?
was cut down. They're shutting down like 3 or 4 schools. It's a big issue. So what I'm seeing from that is we're having to put more in to the schools because the states require that. Is that what that slide is
Our
telling us?
required effort.
No,
Our
no, no.
required effort.
Our required
the one
effort
point-
is a portion of that, but the $1.2 million is the above RLE. The difference between.
Yeah, but like Brantley was saying, it's kind of the same question as him. It's the same as agreement as the 23, but we're having to pay 1.4 million more. Is that because of the state formula?
It's the difference between what the required local effort was in 2023 and what our budgeted required local effort in 25 is.
So in actuality, the school got a $1.5 million increase because the state said so.
No, because 1.2 of it, the county board of supervisors said so.
But why is it 1.4 different than 2023? Because that agreement was in place in
Same.
2023. On your line item of education, there's a 1.475. Why is it 1.4 higher than it was 2 years ago if we've had the same agreement?
I know, I'm gonna answer that.
Okay.
I know the answer. In 2023, it was budgeted to transfer to the school capital improvement fund $660,000, and it didn't get transferred.
Okay, so there's 660,000. What about the rest?
Composite index.
The rest,
Why is it $1.4 million higher today than it was in 2023, regardless of what got transferred? Why is the bill to the county from the schools $1.5 million higher than it was 2 years or a year ago?
and I guess I'm having, I feel like
So you're saying what he's asking?
no. I mean, I do. I can't figure out what I'm.
So we were talking about this earlier. I don't know I don't know if we drilled into this enough, to be honest with you. If we had that other slide, I don't have that other slide with me right now,
Which slide?
from Scott.
Yeah.
The budget from the school continues to go north.
But the commitment from the county hasn't. So is the budget from the school going north because
State,
the state? So that 1.475 is because the state is requiring $1.4 million in a matter of a year and a half.
No, because that's what I want to say, but I'm a little hesitant.
Okay, so let me see if I.
1.2 was there in 2023 though.
And 600, and half of
And-
that, she's saying.
Yeah, I can see the 600 not getting processed or whatever in your numbers, but still, that's a.
Wherever the money gets moved or not, it shouldn't change the budget.
I see your point.
But these are actual numbers. That second
Oh,
column
so
is
it's
Because it
actual.
didn't-
60.
Actually,
We're comparing actual to budget.
So, okay.
That's why
So
I
the
said
eight,
six-
so
so
the
it should be
660 didn't get
transfers.
moved into that line item.
So it should have been.
So there's still another 800,000, close to another 800,000.
Well, let's see, look at it.
you have to get it. I'm looking at Scott's report, and so this is saying 5-year trend information general fund, 5-year trend information. It's got education. Starts in 19 at 5.2, 5.28. In 2020, it goes to 5.48. In 2021, it jumps to 6.81. It goes to 2022, it's 5.837. And then 23 is 6.184. So I'm not tracking on those. The numbers are a little bit up and down. So I'm not exactly sure how to, until we drill into those a little more. To exactly.
And so the number that we put in our county budget is based off of that table, plus what our above LRA is.
You have to take what the state superintendent's memo says for required local effort, and then add to it our
RLA.
above
Above
our.
I think this year our estimate was 6.4 or 6.5 we had to put in, plus we put in an additional 1.2. I think that was the total effort. We put in this
Okay.
Yeah, and now she's taking that.
Now, since that money wasn't accounted for in the right line item, and we've made the commitment to the school that the money is going to be sitting there, would that be the rest of that?
No, because I didn't budget it in 25.
She'll have the 2.1.
What do you mean you didn't budget?
2023 that Lisa didn't.
Oh, okay. We would just have to do it.
We're gonna have to
We'll
do
have to do
it,
it. We'll
but
just
I feel like we are gonna be better off maybe doing it this year before the end of the year, as opposed to putting it in our 2025 budget,
I see what you're saying.
because it's a retroactive correction.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I know, I feel like I didn't answer your question well, but I can send just a snippet of the education piece, which would probably be really helpful for you to see, because it has trend from 2021, 22, 23, and our budget for 24.
Well, there's been some miscommunication somehow between here and the county. I've had a call, I know Mary's had a call. They were getting calls from school board members saying, where's the money? And I told Diane Haynes, and I reassured her that we're trying to figure that out. It just wasn't allocated to the right spot. But the money is gonna be there when the ESSER money is gone, which is budget year 2025, which is what we're approving, working on right now, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
24, 25.
I have money that I plan on transferring before the end of this year, which is probably gonna be in the consent agenda on Thursday.
But Superintendent Wilmore is telling his board members that we misappropriated the funds and it's not there. And that's the message that's the message that I'm getting from school board members.
I've heard some of that too.
Yeah.
But
I don't know
I
why.
mentioned it to Steve and he said.
I think we're as clear
It's
as,
a little unusual, seeing as we've had several conversations about that money, and I've never heard that.
He's never said that to us. Why he would say that?
Maybe when
I've
he
talked to him.
initially said it, he was not clear.
I don't, maybe he wasn't clear. I've
and
talked to him about
it may be 6 months old, but it's as recent as 2 weeks ago that I've had conversations with school board
I
members.
talked to Kelly about this. I told him clearly the money would be there. The board's made a commitment. For 2 years. I said the third year's coming up in 25. They still have to make a commitment. They have said that's what they want to do at that point in time. The agreement, as I understand it, after 3 years, he can come to the board, which he's already asked for the money coming up in 25, that he can come and ask for portions of the CIP to do other things.
Some of it,
Some of
not.
it. Well, that's up to the board.
And we actually, in that budget number, shifted, per his request, $150,000 from the 2025 agreement into the above RLE, so we could spend it this year.
So he's asked.
So,
Let me explain this just a little bit.
okay.
So we met with the board, and I said, what I said was just that. The board is committed to this 3-year agreement, the verbal agreement that was made, the 380 plus this, 350 plus 780. The CIP, he wants to use part of the CIP money now to build the welding base. He wants to build some welding base down there. He wants to use 100. So in his request for 25, he's asked to move part of the CIP money into the above RLE so he can utilize that for the welding bays. So I said, I don't have a problem with it. The board would have to approve that. That's the agreement, that is, I understand. So that would reduce that 2.1 to 1.9 or something like that, 1.95. And if you decide to do that, then I would just memorialize that in a memo to him and the school board, so we don't have any misunderstandings about where that money is moving forward.
Is that something you want us to talk about right now?
Well, you can if you
Well, I
want.
guess my question is, how expensive is welding bays? And is that just a verbal estimate or?
If you would like, if we want Kelly to come up here and have a discussion, I'd say I'll bring him up to board supervisor meeting. He can make the request formally, and then you guys can ask all the questions you want.
A formal request would be good. I'd like to know the condition of the area that they're planning on putting the bays, like, because I know if it's gonna be down in the vocational or ag areas, the roof leaks really badly down there. In fact, they've had some
They were
machine
supposed to
damage.
fix that. That was supposed to
Did
be
they fix
fixed
it?
last year.
Did it? Did it get fixed?
I have pictures.
Yeah.
The pipes
I
they
don't
fixed,
know.
the roof they fixed. Mr. Wilmore actually
I love it.
Wouldn't it be smart to fix pipes and read it?
He actually came and made a presentation from the EDA, so we have some information on that.
So he did. The EDA had a lot of questions. He asked for $100,000 from the EDA.
Okay.
Uh,
I think it'd be great.
Is
for
this a
them to have some long
guesstimation or is it an actual bids?
I don't-
That's what I'd like to see, is actual bids.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I'm a little torn on it.
On bids for that?
I think if we start getting, that's, in my opinion, that's what the school board is supposed to approve.
Well, that's,
That the school board requests the money, not the superintendent. And I think if we start micromanaging what the school can spend their money on,
I don't have no problem with them spending the money on a good legitimate
I
purpose.
just like to see the plan.
But
Just
we
a
get
proposal.
stuff that, you know, we're starting out at one price, quote,
Yeah.
and then we're up way over
30%
in
more.
before that, you know, so I've never worked in any kind of organization. I know when I was with the sheriff's office, we had to get bids on anything that we were trying to procure. And then we presented it to the county. I don't see why that's different from anybody else,
I agree.
any other
Yeah, I agree with
agency.
you.
I agree with that.
I was specifically based on your verbal agreement.
Mhm.
Think that CIP money, was supposed to go towards CIP projects. So you've come to an agreement, from what I understand, that this board has oversight over that money. And so however you want to go about that, I think you have the right to do that.
I think it's
First-
important.
What's that?
I think it's important in line with what Mike said, that we have a little bit of an idea, not that we're trying to micromanage.
Yeah, I
Because we all agree, we need.
I don't
to-
disagree with
Just nice
that,
to see a
but I mean, the
proposal.
last request we had for this money was to get, engineering drawing
It was my
to the
concern.
tune of $150,000. And now it's welding bays. And which I'm in full support of agriculture and getting that. But a little background on what finished that football field was the request for $750,000 to put the football field in, and they couldn't come up with $750,000 because they needed to put a roof on the Cade Center. And our agreement that we had with the two school board members and the two board supervisors at the time, if you will fix the roof on the Cade Center, then we will support finishing the field for a shared use agreement, which we executed. And so the $750,000 that the county put towards finishing that AstroTurf football field was to enable the school to be able to put a roof on the Cade Center. And to my knowledge, it was done, but I don't have confirmation of that.
There was a number it threw off I can't remember the data we were looking at. We're like, what is that?
What is that?
What is that? It was the football field.
$750,000.
That threw off one of the school numbers at one point in time. I said,
Did you say, is the roof been verified that the roof was fixed part of the?
I don't have any verification that the roof on the Cade Center has been done. that was
Right.
the exchange for the $750,000 that the county put in to finish the field.
Yeah.
Then the Cape Center roof would be finished.
Because the concern is, like Mike said, sometimes if it's $150,000 project, it may actually be a $200,000.
I don't disagree with either one of
But
them.
once we get our feet in the middle of it, then we're kind
Well,
of.
part of it is, you're right, because he's also asking, he's asking for money from Withfield to do the loan base. He's asking money for the EDA, which is taxpayers' money, and he's asking money from the CIP. If one of those three falls apart, what's gonna happen? Is it gonna come, what's the plan? So I think you have a bunch of questions you want answered
Well,
before you can.
right,
decide.
right. So if, I mean, and we're not trying to withhold anything we agreed to, but if we give them 150,000, the EDA gives them 100,000, and WCC comes in with another 50, I mean, are we building a new case there? Or are we building welding bays? Because my God, that sounds pretty expensive.
I mean, a Melomatic 252's $800.
Yeah, no, we haven't made,
The Senate, are we talking about leading up Senate block
We got- yeah.
petitions?
I
Well, that's-
don't know. I'm just
I'm just
asking.
trying
Right,
to figure out
we don't
where
wanna
we're at.
micromanage it, but
No,
I think we all would like to see
absolutely not.
kind of the plan.
And we
Before
definitely.
we're like, yeah, you can
Yeah,
have it.
because if this thing goes south and they have to be bailed out, we're gonna be the ones doing it. I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but,
It could.
you know, in the past, the school's finances went south and the county had to bail them out. And the other thing is, I've heard about wanting to request for engineer drawings. Is that still, are they still wanting that?
So what I've told, Kelly, and what I've told, I told the board, we have some very significant priorities in the county right now, which are 911, our communications and infrastructure projects. And if I did not see a path forward for a $6.5 million school, elementary school right now, if the board changes their mind and wants to, there's no funding that we have. Our revenues are flat. We don't have, they're out of ESSER, we're out of ARPA.
They are out of ESSER.
Well, it's coming to an end is what I'm saying.
Because the whole idea for the agreement that we had was we reduced the ask from 1.8 to 1.2 for a period of 3 years. But the money would not be available until the ESSER money was gone, which was end of 25.
You still have, Kelly wants to put in for a grant. If you had $2 million in your CIP and he got a grant of 1.8, you still got a $2.5 to $3 million, maybe more delta that you're gonna have to come up with.
That CIP fund was never intended to build a school. It was intended to replace HVACs and windows and.
So
Because if we use that money to build a school,
I think
we're gonna have the same problem.
We're gonna have to borrow money.
you definitely have to borrow money. Or you
And
have,
maintain the schools, budget one.
or you have to raise taxes. Those will be your options.
It could be both.
And it could be both. It probably will be both.
Yeah.
But you're probably have to borrow money. We'll have to go through the process of getting a loan again like we did. We'll have to plan it out and we'll have to raise taxes enough to cover the loan.
Well, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think what I'm hearing is, one, we'd like some proof that the Cape Center roof is fixed, and two, we'd like to see plans and bids on what it's going to cost to build out the welding. Fair, Mr. Mike?
That's fair.
And back to my question about the engineer plans, I appreciate what you told him, because we don't have the funding lined up for that, so we don't need to start that ball rolling if we don't have a plan to see it to the end. And as of right now, I don't know if there's much of an appetite to raise taxes and borrow more money to build that school. We've got these other major issues too, so
And they
just from my part.
and Supervisor Cornett, they've been on the agenda for at least 2 years. And I think that we've got an opportunity as this board to see through what our priorities have been for the past couple of years and see it to the finish line before we take on anything else.
I agree.
I would just encourage you, if that's in your discussions, if that's what you want, when the board reaches out to you, I think you guys communicate that. We're not, our stance at this point in time is the CIP money is to fix projects that have to be fixed. And we're not using that money for $500,000 for planning, drawings and all that. And that's not the intention of the board. That's the message that I've heard from you, that's the message that I've conveyed, but you certainly have
That's where I'm
discussions.
at.
I think we're all on the same
Sure.
page. And can we confirm that there's no extra money left?
You can ask.
We're gonna ask.
And one more thing, if it's okay. Is it safe to say, after the discussion about the 1.4 million, the 660,000, is it safe to say that the schools overall got around $800,000 more funding, or going to be getting that than 2 years ago? In total.
They're, they approved their
The-
school board budget.
786, 800,000, period of 3 budget cycles. This is the 3rd budget cycle that it will be funded, so.
What I was asking was the difference after you take the 660,000,
Gotcha.
as whether it's above or below RLE, as a whole, the school system's getting around $800,000 more than they were 2 years ago.
Not,
Estimated.
oh, because of the state requirement. Yeah. Okay, that's great.
She can pull the, school.
School, they, the school board adopted
If
their
it
budget.
goes down, that means we have less students, right?
She can
So the price is going up and the students are going down.
You're also gonna be paying several more years on Grayson Highlands, million.
Do we know? how many
Debt
more?
service on Grayson Island, yeah.
Million plus.
Is that the only debt service that we have as a county, is the Grayson Highlands School?
I don't know. Our debt service did go down some on a couple of projects.
Well, the school paid off one of their loans. We've got a little bit of debt service. Grayson Highlands is a big chunk of it. But I think there's,
Was there some in Mount Rogers School, the old original?
I think that was paid off. If there's anything besides Mount Rogers, it'd be Freeze, the remodels, Freeze. That was done the same time as,
I tell you,
I think they're together.
Same one, maybe?
Is that the same loan?
I know it was done at the same time, maybe the same one.
So technically, we're still paying on the old Mount Rogers School that they tore down. It was updated before they built Highlands.
there's also
Oh,
school buses
The
that
part that was torn down,
Yeah.
there's still some left of there.
Yeah, the old rock.
Here's the debt service, she's pulled the debt service.
You've got, debt remaining on the school buses, on the county rec lights. Does that sound familiar? There's a note,
School, wait. You said school buses?
Mhm.
That opens up another question.
the maturity date on that is 2026.
Okay, because when I was on the school board, that's been a few months back, we budgeted in, we were gonna get 2 buses a year for the next, I wanna say 10 years. And they were a lease agreement and they were gonna be rotated out. And then, I'm not there, I'm not in the know, so I don't know
Yeah.
what's happened, but evidently that was gonna solve the bus issue way back then. And somewhere along the lines, that's been sidetracked, and we've got electric school buses. And I don't know if y'all have any questions about that, but everywhere I go, they're asking me, what did we think of getting electric school buses? I said, we didn't get electric school buses. We had no part of that. But in about 5 years or less, we're gonna have a part of that, because that's gonna be another issue that's gonna come up. I'm just saying, I may not be here, more than likely I won't, but I'm just,
Well,
That's gonna be
since
an issue
you and
for the
I
county.
sat on this board, I don't remember approving the loan for school buses, so that was prior to,
Prior to you.
well,
That was prior to us.
the electric school buses, right, was,
that was a grant.
they were given to them, but my understanding was, in order to get those buses, you had to destroy 5 perfectly good diesel buses to qualify for the free electric bus. To drill a hole in the block.
You're kidding.
And they can correct me, I'm sure they're watching if I'm wrong, but that's what I've been told. But we haven't went in debt for buses unless it's that lease agreement from years ago.
It was issued in 2019.
When was,
2018,
That sounds-
2019.
That would have been about,
you were on the board.
I was in
Yeah.
it, but I remember there was one budget, there was a request for $5 million. I don't think that ever.
I think that's when we didn't get 5, but we decided to do 2 a year. That way to replenish them. And I'm trying to pull from something that's probably about shot, right? But anyway, we were gonna get 2 each year for 5 years, 10 years, and it was a lease, and then at the end of the lease, you buy them for like $1.
Yeah.
But
How
those
much
were
is
damn
left
fun.
on the debt service for the buses?
Hold on. 108,000?
Oh, we could have sold those 5 diesels.
Or 2 of them.
And what does it cost us annually, that $108,000? If it's been going on since 19, 5 years.
That is the total amount in a year, is 108,000. Let me see if I can figure out what's the balance on there. I don't think I can.
2 years left.
So would that specify debt or lease? Would that be considered the same?
Yes,
Okay.
debt service, yeah.
Because I wonder if it's those buses that we were gonna lease. And that was been 2018, somewhere around there, 2017, 2018, when we did that.
But Grayson Highlands takes up the bulk of that.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, I think I'll log this down again.
Okay, just a couple.
Was that all besides the?
I'm just gonna give you the amount of required RLE and debt from the school or their budget.
Okay.
Now this includes debt service. And actually that's, on this schedule, there's an education piece and there's a debt service piece, so it's split up on mine. But county RLE and debt is $7,797,047.58.
For which year?
But that's what their FY 25 budget is.
25. 7, almost 7, 8, then, right?
Mhm.
And that includes RLE, debt service, but not above RLE.
Exactly.
Okay.
Their request for county above RLE was 450,000.
Okay.
That's the
Which includes the
370.
150.
That's the 150 for the Wellman days that they want to transfer from the CIP.
So when we,
And 782 plus 450. That was, it was 782 plus 325. With 450 going here and 6 something more.
okay.
So it's 450 above the 350 that we,
No.
the 150 is in,
150
okay.
above. Yeah.
325, 450.
When we
Telling your CIP budget is separate.
Gotcha.
we're talking about above RLE in the past, have we included that 60,000 in the dumpster fees that the county is? Because I think that needs to be part of the above RLE. If we're
Oh,
gonna,
no, I don't think we should be doing
I think
we're not paying it, we're
But I
giving them a
think-
discount.
I think what he's saying is it needs to at least be mentioned.
We need to be
What's given
credited
to the
for
school
that,
system
yeah.
from the county.
I disagree. I think what we need to do is build in appropriate for what they use, and encourage them to be efficient with some of the things. So we build in just like we build in our customers.
Okay.
no budget.
With no retroactive.
They're gonna get the money from the county anyway. It's just
Allows us
recognizing,
to-
yeah.
Or, I mean, we could just say we're giving you 50,000. We could. What Tracy said, we could do that. But it allows us to keep our numbers a little.
I agree with you, Mr.
Little bit.
And I'm okay with that, but I'm just saying, in the past, let's say the county don't give the schools enough or what, in actuality, we probably give them a lot, we not get credit for it. I'm not,
Such as $1 million Grayson Highlands, so for years, that's, the county funds that every year.
Yeah.
But it didn't get credit for it for a lot of years.
it's just important so that the people know.
Call a recess. Use the restroom.
We recessing.
Recess.
if y'all want to, I'm just going to reset.
Recess.
And just get up, guys.
Walk out.
We gotta go.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, that's a good idea.
Yes.
Smooth.
It makes sense, it makes sense to know where we're at.
It's like these buckets I'm trying to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I can go, it may get confusing if I'm, something, that way we just keep everything going. Okay, we know we're at a deficit here. Why are we at a deficit? We talk about that.
It's still live, by the way. No, that's good. I just want to make sure we get credit for it. Okay.
Because we could be, perceived that we're not
Doing enough.
and we're still taking on debt. It's not debt. Taking on other things.
And that does not figure into RLE.
It's what I figured.
And-
Yeah, that's right.
And
So,
I think do we have any, when's the EDA gonna make a decision? Yes.
They asked for some more information.
Okay.
So I think he's getting back to it next.
And I think that's a good idea. I mean, if they can, I think it feeds into economic development, workforce development. If we're fixing welding bays and we've got people here hiring welders, it
I agree
makes
with
sense.
What I would say, is that,
I have to look over it.
I would expect it to significantly.
I would agree.
Do what now, say?
I don't know.
So then, you come back, and I think you want to think about those.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, they need to fix them. And Kate's not been a priority, I don't think, in
No,
years.
it's not.
And it needs to be, because that's one of the biggest, brightest things we've got in this county is, we called it the vocational school
That's what I was thinking.
back in the day.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know until recently, we don't have building trades anymore. Is that,
Very recently, I believe it's
Is
like
that
the
what-
last 2 years maybe.
I thought, no, last year I went down there, they were down there.
building trades?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it was, well, I don't know this for sure, but I thought it was just a staff turnover.
Maybe they
didn't have
combined it
one
or
for a while or something.
yeah,
Pretty comfortably happy with the first one I went down there last year. But to visit.
maybe it's a combined thing, but
That could-
that's producing our workforce
Mhm.
in that K center.
So
So
we need home builders.
if that's one of our goals as a board is to, workforce development, I mean, partnering with them and WCC is
Mary,
the way.
I
to go.
want some more water.
I do, okay. How'd you know?
I'm good.
I'm
thank
a camel. Did you hear about the big center roof?
You still there?
Oh,
Just that
It's a little late for that.
about to ask you a dumb question. Is this something new? But I see it's volume one, number one. What top is that?
Or they only got one.
Okay, we ready, Chair? Okay. Or you wanna do was there something, oh, you already talked about the school.
Yeah.
Something else you wanna point out?
I was gonna try to answer their school question.
Okay, look, just one other thing I wanna show you. One of the things, we heard about parks and rec and culture. Mostly the rec park is pretty stable. It looks like 23 to 25. Nothing major. If you look at public safety, see a pretty significant increase in public safety, 5.8 to 6.6.
What does that include?
Public safety is that just the sheriff's office?
Oh, no, the sheriff's office, EMS, jail, juvenile probation.
So does that, I know last year we agreed for instead of an apparatus once a year, we spread it to all of the agencies to be able to. Is that the increase?
That's in there.
Yeah. Well, that would make almost all of that increase up.
And then you have,
There's an ambulance
Ambulance
in
company.
there too.
varying each year.
Mhm.
So ambulance 1 year, fire truck 1 year, ambulance 1 year, fire truck.
On top of what we agreed to last year.
No.
I think we're,
When we agreed to last year, instead of an apparatus every year, that we spread that out to all of the volunteer organizations. So they could-
Yeah, your
That's fire departments. Within the
That's
rescue
fire
squad.
fire departments, EMS.
And EMS, we don't do that because
EMS.
the grant funding that we get on the ambulances, well, we would not be able to get
So we're buying
if
one,
we sent out checks.
right, we're not spreading that out to all the organizations.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay. Mhm. I'm just gonna have to send you all the sheet. Honestly, on why it looks different, because even in the RLE for 2023, it went up 500,000
From the state's requirement.
from the state's required RLE for instruction only, went up 500,000. So our numbers that the state is requiring us to pay are going up. In addition to any additional above RLE. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll email the sheet out for you all though, so you can see it. Okay. Parks and Rec is really not a significant,
I just hit that.
you hit that already, okay. Community development includes all of your economic development, agriculture, extension. There's one more.
Planning and zoning,
And tourism.
cooperative extension, and capital, project.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as of right now, the difference between our fiscal year 25 estimate and our fiscal 23 actual, the request is up $1.9 million. Now, and that also includes, because Steve and I had made a first round attempt at kind of maybe buying some stuff now with some leftover ARPA funds and taking capital out of the estimates. It's to the tune of $1.4 million. So had that work not been done, it would be a much higher number.
Substantially more.
So just remember, our ARPA money that we have has to be obligated this year.
Obligated by June 30 and spent by December 31st.
Okay.
What do we have left?
That is the next budget meeting. But he's been asking me that. We have a significant amount left, and part of that is due to lead times. You know, the lead time on an ambulance right now is like 3 years.
But we don't have to, it has to be committed this year.
It has to be obligated by June,
June 30th and
spent by December.
What if the ambulance is not ready by this?
Well, that, I don't think we're gonna be the only locality in the state that has that question, and they may have to grant another extension.
When you say obligated, I mean, if we've dedicated,
If we've ordered it, though,
Obligated
we
and
can do a
dedicated,
PO
it's
and
not the-
have it obligated.
Yeah,
okay.
we'll do a purchase order on it, so it should be good at that point in time.
Who's getting the ambulance?
They would, who's gonna, they would.
That's what the commission needs.
Yeah, and the commission had to determine who the next one will be, but they told me the biggest need was more like Mount Rogers. It's probably
For the
who,
next one.
yeah, they're asking for this year.
Your question on how much ARPA is the question we've been trying to work through this week. There's a couple more projects that we didn't do. We got 150 set aside for the library talk room, and we got 150 set aside for something else. So we may utilize that funding for Louisville Lane as we move out of Louisville Lane.
But the request for the parking lot was 500,000.
Well, we had set aside in ARPA 150,000. The request came back at 600,000.
Yeah.
Is what it actually was. And you guys said, we're not interested in $600,000 parking,
And
Yeah.
steps and
in steps.
Yeah.
parking spot.
Yeah, well, part of that was the farmer's market.
That's right.
Bailouts.
The other 150 was, Heritage.
Heritage School was the other 150. So we paused, that was on the prior approved ARPA list that was approved previously. We haven't moved out on any of that, so those are two potential funding sources for rural land.
The Heritage School,
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that
Up
is.
by,
What?
Mount Rogers.
It's Mount Rogers,
Oh, Mount Rogers.
the walk part of the school.
I got you.
They demoed some of it and then they were gonna make a school, I guess, I don't know.
Well,
Or a
they-
museum or something.
yeah, they will have a museum or shop.
Yeah.
Probably before our time over here.
One of the priorities that we set with the ARPA money last year, and I'm just bringing it up, not pushing it, was childcare. And being a new member to the DSS board, that is one of their number one priorities too. There is no option for childcare in the county.
Yeah,
And so last year during our budget meetings, we talked about childcare being the number 2 priority if there was anything left after 911 communications and broadband and, on the western end of the county. We haven't talked about it this year. It's still an issue.
yeah,
I think you can attest to it.
oh, yeah.
I could attest to it. But the absence of childcare in the community is an issue. And while it may not be an issue for anybody on this board right now, it's an issue in the community that there's several people saying that it's a priority, several government agencies saying it's a priority. It seems like to me we need to get all of them at the same table so we can talk about how to address that, even though this board hasn't brought it up yet.
The reason I have that look on my face is because I didn't see any funds designated from our.
I don't know that there was. I mean, it's kind of like the school CIP. It wasn't set aside to,
Okay,
it's still there. It just wasn't designated, which is interesting because Lisa's the one who convinced us to make it the number 2 priority, so.
Yeah.
I do think that the conversations are being had with, United Way.
United Way Southwest,
Working.
we've been to several meetings with them. I don't know what funds we could offer at this point in time and to do what.
That's the thing. Nobody knows what to do because a government-run daycare is a bad idea.
My thoughts on that is maybe, I don't know, I know we don't control the EDA, but maybe we could ask the EDA to look at that. If somebody wants to start a daycare, could they have them down somewhere?
That's
But
what I do.
I don't think people are knocking the door down to start a daycare either.
That's the thing. You can't find anybody who wants to operate one.
And I think that's more in their wheelhouse, especially if somebody's coming in with a business that's gonna need.
Yeah, that's economic. If we had an announcement, somebody wanted to bring in, hire a lot of people in Grayson County, we don't have the people, we don't have the housing for the people to come here, we don't have the child care either. Necessarily right now.
That's an EDA issue. Good point.
But so we don't have funds dedicated to childcare, because we did, and this is just giving you some backstory, he don't look. Lisa called a special call meeting in here for us to discuss ARPA money about a year and a half ago, and part of that was putting 200,000, I thought, was what we,
I don't remember the number.
was gonna go toward childcare, the rest was going towards EMS, maybe? It was like, it was two different
911
things.
communication.
Okay, 911. So anyway, there's record of that somewhere. I don't know. I'm just asking because I've been under the impression all this time there was money sitting there and thinking, could we not put that into these other priorities?
Money set designated for childcare.
In ARPA money that had been specifically designated.
The list that we have has nothing about childcare. You got
Well,
anything on that?
What is that money dedicated to, I guess is the $1 million question.
Well, you have a couple of projects that have been approved. The access road to the park, finishing the sidewalk,
Okay.
that's on there. The London property, is it the London property? Powerhouse Falls parking lot is on there.
That was CIP, that wasn't ARPA.
Oh, I thought it was on.
Both of those.
No, you have CIP.
Oh, it
I
was
think you
CIP.
have ARPA.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Okay, so tower construction and broadband,
Mhm.
was a good portion of it. You also had a compactor for public works, fleet vehicle. That was only 35,000. Trying to work on that.
Have these things been done or purchased or in the works?
The pool repair was part of ARPA. Some of them are in the works, some of them are complete, and some of them haven't been done really.
But this is committed money already.
Your question is what's left to commit, and so we're trying to get to that next.
Would it be too much to ask if we got a list of what you're talking about, what's been committed with the what's left? Just
Yeah, right.
because a lot of stuff you're telling me, I've been here going on 3 years, and some of this is news to me.
Okay.
Which part's new?
I didn't know we had approved any funding to complete the road to the rec park. I think it's a great idea, but I don't know.
I don't know that we.
Never heard that discussion.
I knew it was on the CIP. I don't know that we ever.
Did you?
Yeah, we did.
I'm sure y'all did. Y'all knew?
Well, from the rec, group. Yeah, I think we talked about
We
it.
should have went through orientation.
Yeah, if you guys would have orientation.
I know.
That is hysterical.
We need refresher.
I'll start going through it every year.
No, I can
But
send
that's
you a list.
just-
I'm working on trying to get, because these, a couple of the projects went a little bit over. A couple have been like orders. Some of them we kind of piecemeal, we have to add all the invoices together. This is what's remaining on those
Yeah.
projects. But I can definitely send you the budget sheet that was used for your, and budget approval.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, because I'm curious. I don't know to see
But it's
what we
got all
had
the
versus
projects
where we're at, and
Mhm.
some of that I understand is pending or on order.
Some of it's changing. Mhm.
And then once we know what the final number is, which you don't have yet, right? Then we can recommit that, I guess.
And he has asked several times what that number is, so it's just between getting this and.
I've
paying
asked like
people
10
what's-
times today in this meeting.
This,
We will
this
get it.
may be getting in the weeds a little bit, but is the trash compactor, is that still a thing that we're wanting to do? To buy?
The Baylor,
We already ordered.
but I thought we already got it.
We already got. the
We already got
trash.
that. That was complete.
That's a truck.
That was complete.
Yeah,
Truck.
that
The
was.
truck, okay.
Yeah,
I got you.
trash compact.
I thought you were talking
No.
about you.
Well, the other
They
thing,
mentioned that.
you know,
In your orientation.
Actually in orientation.
one of the things we had a discussion about the other day is, and I know you probably both heard it, was the Baylor. You saw the Baylor, how old that is.
Mhm.
And what we're trying to figure out is if we have ARPA money now, we can get a used Baylor for $20,000-$30,000. That Baylor is so old, you know, they don't make parts for it anymore. If we don't do something, we're not gonna have the ability to do any recycling. And so we need to do, if we have the opportunity, if we get the opportunity to do something now, we ought to go ahead and do it. And I told Jonathan, he's like, hey, I'm on the lookout for something. I'm trying to find something. A new one's $400,000 or $500,000, but we can get a used one for, you know, $50,000, $75,000. We'll go ahead and get that. So, anyway, okay. What else is this?
Anything else on here? Or are we good to proceed?
You're by me.
All right, so where do we stand? Right now, we have revenue of $28.3 million estimated. We have expenses of $29 million that is being requested with a difference of $1 million. And by code, our budget must be balanced, so we still have some work to do.
Okay, I'll talk about options. I always put all options on the table. Increased fee for citizens to utilize services. Water rates have remained unchanged. We all understand the challenges of water rates. If we go up, we talked at one point in time going up basically 35% based on where Galax was headed. We still haven't heard back from Galax whether they'll treat us as a single user, which takes us from 649 to 550. Even if they do that, their water rates are again scheduled to go up in 2025. So if we don't take action on the water rates, we're still in this deficit of roughly $200,000 a year. Even if we go up 35%, which is roughly $9 per month. Right now, the average bill is $26. You go up $9 per month. That nets you about $45,000. So you're still in the hole on your water rates about $150,000. That's with a 35% increase in your water rate. So you go from 26 to $35. You have 441 paying customers. That's the numbers. Okay. Refuse fees. We are at about $250,000 in refuse fees, deficit in refuse fees. I talked about the school, there's a $56,000 bill right there. So you still have $200,000 deficit in refuse fees. Have options. You could change your trash fee from $18 to $20. That's $2 or 7,000 paying customers at least. You're about $150,000. Covers your refuse fees if you do that rate. You use that with the school. You're getting close to breaking even in your refuse fees. There's always an option to increase the tax levy for investment in our infrastructure. What I've heard from the board so far is there's not a high appetite to change. We do know that we have some EMS costs coming in the future, so I think you should always discuss that and think through that. We also have the option to reduce services. We have to talk about what services you would like to reduce. Where would you like us to take further looks at? And what would you like us to focus on? And then finally, there's the option to eliminate non-essential services. There's always the have to haves, there's nice to haves, and then you can reduce certain services. So we can have that discussion as well. Okay?
Last year, we lowered taxes 6 cents.
5, was it 5?
We're gonna walk you through. Last year, you lowered taxes.
Year before last, we
Year before last.
lowered the levy.
How far they lowered?
From 59 cents to 54.
55 cents, that's correct.
Yeah, 5 cents.
Yeah, 5 cents you lowered levy based on assessment. Remember, we don't have an assessment again until 26.
That's the known that we have that we would be wise to look at over the next
I would really,
2 years.
what I've heard, I don't have the historical. What Mitch has told me on the historical is we tend to, as boards, put off any levy increase time and time again until it's too late. The too late for us will be EMS. The too late for us, I think, will be EMS. We will be in a hole in a few years with EMS that we want to address incrementally in my mind. That's for further discussion.
We adjourn again.
I don't know if we had to pee yet. Okay, next slide.
To my recollection, the year that we went down from 59 to 54, we were supposed to go up to 61 based off of our 5-year plan.
Well, 5 years.
For every penny we go up, it's $180,000.
About doing 190. You want me to go to the next slide?
Yeah, let's go alongside. Go ahead, if you want to go.
Okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Okay, this was in your last presentation, except I've added a little bit here. The financial forecast calls for a 13-cent in fiscal year 2026. And keep in mind that forecast, I think, was based off EMS remaining relatively stable, which we don't imagine is gonna happen. The last substantial increase was in fiscal year 20, was 7 cents. Like you said, last year, you all went down 5 cents on the levy. And in order to balance the budget this year, we need 5 cents.
We went down 5 cents to keep it flat. But this year's, the expenses are not flat.
No, and inflation really has had a significant impact in the last 2 years.
Right.
Mhm.
So because of the assessment, if we hadn't have went down, it would have been a huge tax increase.
35% increase.
And so that's why we lowered it to stay within that, to keep it level.
You went revenue neutral in that 5 cents.
Yeah. You said we're going to flatten this out based on lowering the levy, even though the assessment is this way, just basically like this. Yeah, I just went through the assessment. I think the average residential house assessed 45 or 48% higher. So,
And in 26, we're probably looking at another assessment increase. More than likely.
Well, it could go down. I mean, it went up so fast in 20.
I don't see it going down, but I
Never know, but-
don't, it's hard to say. I thought it would have been down before now.
I think with the trend, it's.
We're-
supply-
it's a supply and demand issue, I think is where you're
Yeah,
at.
and
That's what you got working.
I don't see it going down, but I could be wrong.
We're projecting, right, but
How are we looking on the vehicles? Has anybody seen on car values? Is
They
we
were
gonna run
supposed to
into that
run
debacle?
the quote this week, but I haven't gotten. The commissioner's gonna bring me the total pages when she has it. I haven't seen it yet.
I think she said she's gonna be in this week. Actually, but
So we adjusted that.
I think it's irresponsible not to do something and spread this out over the next few years.
Mr. Chairman, that's what I was getting ready to say. I was here at the 44% increase, and I was here at the 7%, or the 7-cent increase, the last one. And the only complaint that I ever heard from most customers was, how come you couldn't do this a cent or two at a time instead of hitting us so hard one time? And that was the 44%, and then the last one, the 7%. I got not as much on the 7 cents, but the 44% really got it, but then we got it on the 7% too. So why can't we do, 2 cents at a time instead of all of a sudden hitting us with 7?
My question is, with this financial forecast, I know there's a lot goes into it. Was that including Baywood, the county funding the entire Baywood project, the county funding the Mount Rogers project? I mean, I think the priorities may have changed. Is that
The major drivers from that increase were EMS.
for EMS?
I'll go back and look, Mitchell went off, the major drivers.
See, I
That's
think
two and a-
keep on that.
If you, instead of raising trash $2 a month, you raise it to $4 a month with the school, then that should put trash collection in the positive, correct?
I think that we would look at, we were just banging this out, what the bin rental services fees are. There's not a ton that we're way competitive in our bin rentals right now. And I think they'll probably increase a little bit in there. We're not getting much out of there. 10, we'd make, $10,000 or $20,000. But if you're going to increase trash fees to think every dollar as $70,000.
And we're running a $250,000 deficit on it. And I still think it's incredible for what the citizens pay per month. Somebody will come pick up all the stuff you don't want anymore and throw it away for you. It's good for our roads. It's good for our riverbanks. It's keeps the county clean, which is, I'm in full favor of keeping that service. And it's one of the few services that the county offers that does have any, that you can recoup any money off of. This is where we talk about it. I think let's get aggressive on charging the users. I mean, the deficit in the water is one of the things that kind of bugs me a little bit. The entire county is paying for 440 residents to get water delivered to their house at a deficit of $200 and some thousand a year. Plus, we're about to do a $550,000 extension for 10 people. I mean, everybody in the county is paying for those few people to get water. And while I want them to have water, I don't think it's fair for the folks who aren't using that service to be able to pay for it.
I agree 100%. The 35% increase that you talked about, that may not be enough. I realize we can't charge people $100 a month for water, but I mean, I think we need to look at maybe stair stepping it. But we're still gonna be running $150,000 deficit even if we increase the rates? Is that?
If we, yeah, I mean, roughly it's about $200,000 in the hole right now. Even if we increase it 35%, that's $9 a month. That's roughly $45,000 to $50,000 a month. You're still $150,000 in the hole.
Every taxpayer's supplementing 441.
That's true.
And if your well pump, I said it before, if your well pump goes out or behind at my house, county's not gonna supplement me. And those people, I realize some of them don't have the option to drill a well,
They can't get, yeah.
but some of them probably could drill a well at their house in that area.
I think one of them has drilled 4 wells.
Well, I'm not talking about Louisville Lane, I'm talking about the
Watchman.
water customers as a whole. Out of the 441, if they don't like the rate, they can drill a well.
That's true.
You know, water's not gonna get cheaper. The project in Galax, they have a 50% water loss in Galax right now, estimated
50%.
50%. Wow. The project, they've skinned down from 80 million to 40 million to, I think, 16 to 18 million to fix the water issue they have. I don't know where they're gonna land on their lowering their levy, but certainly they had a significant increase in assessments. We'll see where they land as far as how much of that they retain to deal with the water issue they got to replace. But it'll affect these customers, it'll affect us as well.
So just for conversation's sake, if you went up $4 on trash and $9 on water, what does our deficit look like then? And then go up on the dumpster fees. That's who you start with.
I would say $4 on water would break even.
$9 on water.
I'm sorry, $4 on trash. You're basically breaking even on your trash fee at that point. You're up 7,280. So you're basically going to break even on your refuse fees, and water you're still down $150,000.
And so if we do a graduated levy increase over the next, say, 2 years, you do, so we take it back to where it was. And the recommendation is $5, then we would be running if we did the $4 on the trash and $9 on the water and the 5-cent increase to balance the budget, we would be running an excess. So I don't think, my opinion, I don't think we need to be that aggressive.
No, I think we're putting out all the options for discussion. And there's probably a sweet spot in there that you want to think through and talk about.
And we don't have to decide this meeting.
No, sir.
Can we go back to the last screen?
Yep.
So reducing services and eliminating non-essential services.
Yeah.
I think we need to have more of a conversation on those before we start talking about levy increases. That's just my thing. I understand water increase, the rates, I mean, that's fair. Even with the refuge, that may be something too, but, did you have any recommendations on what service we could reduce or eliminate non-essential?
We did,
Yeah.
the 2-day week on essential services.
So on services, if you wanted to, again, if you're just thinking about refuse, you could, the 2 days a week is $50,000. That's a service we offer. And it mainly benefits, kind of independence. Mostly that's an independence kind of benefit. There's nothing wrong with it. A lot of people use it. They like it. Last time we talked about decreasing that, my understanding was a bunch of people showed up. They got yelled at. And it was
Right.
We sure did.
Is there any,
Sorry.
well, is that the only service that's an option to reduce?
So let me say this. If we want to talk about eliminating non-essential If we want to talk about eliminating positions or reducing services, I would prefer to do that, closed session.
I think we need to have the discussion, because in the economy, we know inflation, but it's hitting people in the grocery store on the electricity bill. But it's easy for us five to sit here and say, okay, we're just gonna charge the people more money, instead of making some hard decisions that everyday people have to make every day. They have to make hard decisions on what are they gonna cut in their life. And we're gonna send them a higher tax bill and they've gotta pay it. So I think we've gotta have hard discussions too.
I will say this, we went through, line by line, I kind of went through line by line, and I made some cuts already that people are not gonna be happy with. I'll tell you that right now. There's gonna be costs. You will get people saying, you may have already.
Are those already in this?
Yes. People gonna say, I can't do my job, they're gonna say, it's not fair, it's not right.
Hasn't been communicated yet.
Hasn't been communicated yet because we haven't done it yet. You're gonna get some unhappy folks already based on that.
So it's almost $1.5 million.
Already.
That you have saved.
We were,
That we've cut.
the request came in at 2.2 something. 2.2 over 5. I sent you initially.
Yep.
So it's not gonna be, you're flat revenue, you're flat. You're decreasing revenue, you're increasing costs.
And this is part, putting part of anything in the capital improvements.
Everything is capital improvement. So we don't have, if we come to another Louisville Lane issue, it's coming out of fund balance.
Do we still have the Baywood project in the capital improvements? Is that designated? Or,
Talked about that
We
last
have some
meeting.
designated funds that have been transferred into the road account for Baywood School, but currently we've shifted funds that were being expended out of the general fund over to those Baywood funds, like the electrical and the heating and fuel.
So the three something we got in there, we'll pay the bills.
We're trying to pay bills with, but you still have some money in that fund that is designated and or assigned, so to speak, for that project. And in order for it not to be assigned, the board has to take action to unassign it, basically.
so there's a light bill and what else?
Fuel,
I think it's
Like
about
the fuel.
20,
For the- I'm
25.
sorry, furnace. Right,
Fuel.
the furnace is still
yeah,
operating?
yeah.
I think we're.
There's
still
also
at
some
that.
attorney's fees, I think, that were paid out of that. The title search.
Mowing
the title
fee.
search,
Oh, okay.
And the mowing fee.
Is the title recorded?
Yes. I can say that. So that's all when to take it down there.
That's right. I remember those little discussions.
Right, and I would just want to say, I know when Brandon and I came on, Mitch alluded to, the financial forecast then was an increase in taxes. There was a strong appetite then for, I think, 4 increases initially with the administration. And there was a strong appetite, I think, with them to spend money. The assessment hit and everything seemed like a perfect storm at that time. We were able to lower the levy. But the people that paid the real estate that have the houses, they still paid more in taxes that year because of the assessment. The land, the large land wasn't reassessed. It didn't go up. I don't think
It was reassessed.
It was reassessed.
It went up 2%.
There was all of it went up 2%.
Open line.
Okay. Because at that time, folks that had large amounts of land would have seen a decrease in their taxes based on the lowering of the levy.
Folks who have land.
Large amounts.
Well,
if you have 1 or 2 acres in a house, you didn't see that. That's what I'm referring to.
you saw a decrease.
Well, you saw a decrease in the levy, but you didn't see a decrease in what you paid.
If you just had a home site, the home sites probably didn't decrease, did they? If you just had a lot.
They were reassessed.
Well, they're recessed pretty high. That's
Yeah.
pretty high.
Probably average 30%, I don't know, 28 on that. But what I'm saying is when the financial forecast was forecasted in, there was no way that was factored in or say, there was so many. I mean, I don't necessarily think, it's good to have a forecast and be thinking ahead, but we can't hang our hat on that as that's gonna be how it is or how it is. It may be worse, may be better. There's a lot on that.
But we know for a fact we're not increasing revenue. Right. We know that, so we've got to make some decisions. We'll be done with all the money this year. We know.
We don't know for a fact that we're not increasing levy.
No, what I'm saying, right now, our revenues are flat. There's no, we can look year after year since our assessment was done in 22, that's pretty much a flat number.
So we don't get reassessed again until 28, not 26, unless we choose to do
Okay,
it.
You're right, I'm sorry, I said.
We've got 4 more years of this assessment.
That's correct.
And that's the facts that we know that we can lessen the blow over the next 4 years or eliminate services or whatever it is. But we've got 4 more years with this assessment.
That's right.
And to somebody's point, maybe the next time the assessment will go up again. If that's the case, if the board saw that coming, they can go down to 4 years. We don't have to wait 6.
So if we've got, I mean, you said 13 cents over the next 6 years. If we cut some services and charge more for this and we take that 13 cents and go over the next 4 years, then that makes it a heck of a lot more palatable. Because, I mean, if we're sitting here 2 years from now and you've got to go up 13 cents, the backlash this board is going to get is going to be something awful.
Okay, let's look at it this way, and for me, as finance director, this would be one of my priorities, is stabilizing the water fund to be self-sufficient, because that will save your general fund. Right now, in the 25 budget, I have $200,000 transfer to go over to the water fund. Well, that's a penny, right? So if we get the trash where it's not operating at a $250,000 deficit, well, that's a penny and a half, right? So now you're 2.5 cents down.
To me, that's the only fair way to do things. I know people's gonna be paying higher water bills and they're not gonna be happy, but they're consuming that water. Not everybody else that's gonna be picking up the bill.
And we just need to do a good job of communicating that so that they
Yeah.
understand.
I mean, we're gonna, me and Mary especially, we're gonna get a lot of calls about it and people are not gonna be happy, but it's, just like go to the grocery store. We're not happy about that either.
Is there any action that needs to be taken today? We're just talking, right?
It's just a discussion, kind of where we're at right now.
So we talked about reducing services, so the main one that you felt like was
Refuse.
the refuge. And what else? That was on.
That's closed
that's the
session.
main one. Oh, close, okay.
Unless you want to talk about it.
Unless you have some recommendations you'd like to make.
Sir, if the board has recommendations they would like us to look at, based on what numbers you saw, we certainly can. If you want to talk about it, open session, I can. If you want to talk about closed session.
It's too late for us to have a closed session today, right?
Can we,
We're supposed to
It's supposed to be on the agenda.
announce it, I think.
Well, we've got another budget meeting coming up that we've got time.
I
May
guess-
Time
7th.
is 5/7,
Yeah.
2024.
So
We get time.
can we just put closed session on the board to
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Anderson?
Yes, sir.
If that suits you?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm trying to think in my head, how many departments do you have that,
I don't know, that's not you.
well, I guess just total, so we're not targeting anything, but.
Total department.
Yeah, cause the constitutional officers, that's a separate animal.
We have no control.
And,
Well, we have control over the amount of county dollars. They give us a request. We have them, send the sheriff's office. We have control over county dollars. What we put in there.
could you give us an example of something that,
I could-
fuel costs to county for Associated Sheriff's Department? Do they request X amount of dollars or they just give us their gas bill? I mean, how does that work?
No, they,
It's in their budget.
it's in the budget.
Okay, so is that something you've already gotten from them, a request? Does it look the same as last year or? I know fuel's gone up, so.
We've gotten a request from them for a budget. We've taken an initial hack in.
Okay.
Specifically one major hack.
One major hack, which was vehicles, $160,000. That we, $130,000. That they requested, and we said, we didn't, the staff did not approve that.
Okay.
There's, if you want to talk about reducing services, there's one of the things we would probably talk about, is where they're at, what you'd like to see your public safety plan. Or maybe we take it EMS, or we look at our current staffing model and have some discussions about it.
So not just non-essential, but essential services that could possibly be trimmed, because those are essential services.
They are, but those services are up and their requests keep moving up on there.
Right.
So, when you say essential, I think there's a discussion of what essential actually is, you know what I mean? And what do you get for those essential services? Is that fair?
Looking forward, at the end of the 3 years with the school agreement, there's 786 that's gonna get freed up.
Yes, sir.
That's another 4 cent on the levy.
I smile because it's been 782, 784, and you just said 786.
Whatever.
It's also been 660, so I'm so confused on what that
Well,
actual number
the
is.
number varied a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Varied a couple of years.
Okay.
Right.
that's
So
what
there's 4 cent
Mhm.
that helps next year. It doesn't help on this year's budget.
If you decide not to do any more CIP money, that's the 526 you're talking about, correct?
526.
In FY 26,
Oh,
if the
yeah.
board decides we're no longer.
FY 26.
FY 26, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I
Fiscal year,
thought you said 526.
I'm sorry. If the board decides we're no longer going to fund the CIP, this is your CIP money, good luck. You'll get the 325 or whatever. it is.
That was the agreement,
Will they forget 325 forever?
to get back to historical figures, which was 357.
Then you're right. That's almost a 4 cent.
It's clear as mud.
There's $784,000 that you now.
That's
You use
that's
towards
right
it.
at 4 cents.
Yeah, it's a little low.
So,
That would,
I mean, the people who are using the services, and something I wanted to know for 2 years, is there any way that the Commissioner of Revenue can tell us what percent comes from real estate taxes, come from houses, and what percent comes from open land? Because we've had this talk about land use taxation. We're essentially in the land use taxation period right now, just like Mr. Anderson said. But keeping in mind that raw land gets 0 services from this county, and it pays quite a bit. But I would love to know what that percentage is. Raw land gets 0 services from the county.
you can't get an ambulance out to the middle of
And mountain land that you can't hardly even hike on is getting taxed.
don't get pick up trash. You don't have water.
They're saying residential versus.
Residential
Open
versus
land.
open
Yeah.
land.
No, I know.
So your house plus your 5 acres,
Yeah.
it's just the services, the rest of the 50 acres you have out there, it's not.
Mhm.
You're taxed. You're taxed every year.
You're taxed.
It's same rate.
Yeah, and if
Just
we
different value.
looked at
Same rate.
raising the
Different value,
levy,
I'm sorry.
Same
it
rate.
would impact those landowners.
I'm tracking.
I would agree. I'd like to see the percentage. I think it's been talked
And
about.
that may be
I have no
impossible
idea
to
what
pull out.
percentage is.
I don't know, but
I don't think it'll be impossible.
Someone, I'm sure knows.
everybody pays the same for trash. Everybody pays the same rate for their real estate. Just, it's valued differently, but everybody pays the same rate.
Correct.
Except for the people.
And I think it could be a combination of all of it. Let's make the user
pay for what they're using. We don't want to go up on taxes, but we might have to fudge a little bit over the next, we don't want to put this board, and it may be none of us sitting on this board, 4 years from now, in a situation where they've got to go up 25 cents on the levy. That's unfair to the citizens. It's unfair to this board, whoever may be sitting on.
Is, I think the slide that you put up, last presentation, just a reminder, I'm not advocating, it's all data, right? It's just data, it's just discussion. We are at probably one of the lower tax rates in the state of Virginia.
That's correct.
And even in our surrounding counties, the only one that's less than us is Wood County. They have revenue, they're a $160 million operation. I said with.
Yeah. They have a train.
They've got
Two
some
major
other options
highways.
that we don't have. So, the real thought in my brain, I'll just tell you, the real concern in my brain is EMS. We better get ready for what we're gonna face with EMS.
I've got the list of the ARPA money if everybody's interested in, if anyone's interested in hearing it. And this was taken from minutes from your budget meeting last year. So the access road for the industrial park, broadband expansion and tower construction. Access road was 400,000. Broadband tower construction was 332,000. Ambulance was 225. Library parking lot 150. Compactor truck 315,000. Fleet vehicle 35. Communication housing joint lookout.
Yep.
Was 25,000.
Yep.
White Top Heritage Center
150.
was 150. That was what we were calling.
That's what,
No, wrong. Okay. Pool repair was 190.
And that's already been done, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
What of those that you've listed haven't been done yet?
the Heritage Center and the parking lot, there's 150 WTOs.
And the access road.
The access road has not been done, but we are moving forward on that.
And that's 450.
400. We don't know, we think it may be less.
Yeah, we think it's gonna come in less.
That's
Doesn't
first.
happen.
Well, we didn't have to do, soil. Stormwater, we have to do stormwater, which
That's
is,
safest.
and we've got a couple, we should be heading out for bid, hopefully next month or two, I think, we're ready to go.
Y'all gonna like that project. Boy, it does.
No, I'm not opposed to it. It's just it's kind of like Mitchell said, there's $400,000 that the whole county's paying for this.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, I think the rec park's in as good shape as it's been since I've lived here, and it's fully used. But this
This is gonna put it on the map.
I was up there
Well,
today.
maybe it'll
at lunch.
increase some revenue somewhere.
You better.
All these discussions boils down to priorities. Just priorities. Is your priority keeping the tax rate low, keeping it down? Is your priorities expanding services? My priorities is keeping the tax rate as low as possible, and it's also EMS. But I realize those two things don't mix very well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you gotta maintain them services somehow.
Exactly. But
And that
it
just
all
needs
boils
to
down to
be.
priority. I think I want to look at other areas to cut to be able to maintain the tax rate and help at the rate we are now. I realize in the future, and we need to have more discussions about it with EMS. It's going to be a growing concern. You all know that, but I think we need to work on a plan moving forward. If this happens, what's the plan? We need to be proactive instead of reactive, like you said in the first slide.
I don't know that this is a priority, but I'll mention it. For the past 3 years, we've been able to tuck away $2.2 million for the school to have a capital improvement budget or money. We don't have one of those for the county. And that's,
Sad.
I think we need to take care of the county. So even though it's 4 cents that it's going to save us by not fulfilling that above RLE, I think that money needs to go back to the county. So we've got a rainy day fund case something happens as well. But I think it's the appetite of this board talking, offline with everybody that I don't think there's an appetite for pet projects. And I think it's, let's stick to our priorities. Let's finish what we said we were gonna finish. Let's keep the tax rate as low as we possibly can. But balance the budget. I mean, unfortunately, that's what we're here to do.
So we're within $1 million.
I think we're closer than that. Just on some notes that I've taken.
This is not a fiscal year where we can spend any extra. And we all need to be on the same board.
And we've got 4 more years with the appraisals that we have, that's our norm. That's a pretty good norm to have. We knew exactly where we needed to be every year. That's because, this county doesn't offer a lot of services. So cutting services is, I'm happy to entertain the discussion, but we don't offer a lot of services.
Yeah.
Can you check with the commissioner to see if they can fill out the real estate?
Yeah, I've already got that on the list. That's fine.
Could you email us that list of ARPA?
Yep, I got that,
I couldn't write
and
fast
I
enough.
got send
I
ARPA
know.
spreadsheet, send budget sheet for school, balance of the ARPA, because those are two separate things.
Yeah.
And then check with the commissioner of revenue on the percentage of house versus open land. That's kind of my follow-up notes with you all, and I'll email that information.
And has the staff already committed to the Mount Rogers School and the parking lot at the library?
You mean the Heritage?
Staff?
You guys, have y'all already committed to $150,000 to the,
We committed nothing to that,
okay.
0.
That was from last year's
That was
discussion.
That was
the
from
list we
last
got
year.
from last
Okay.
year. We've been going off this list because that's what was in the budget. But they had already, canceled the library parking lot at the beginning of the year.
So that's not in the figure you gave us, the
No.
deficit.
We had, at the beginning, let's see, trying to think, maybe when the new board came in, there was an option to go after a $200,000 grant for the school that we were approached on. And what I heard was, let's hold. So we've held on everything. The theme right here is focus on a specific number of projects, very focused projects, and that's it. So that's what we're doing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's, have you heard anything on rescoping the federal grant on communication? Is that something you want to talk about?
I'm happy to talk about it. I don't know. I haven't been to the meetings on this yet. And so I don't know what our percentage of that money is going to be and what we're actually going to be able to. Now, if we can buy microwaves with it, if we can do some things with it, that will reduce this other number that we're talking about. We may have some other options. I don't know if that's going to be viable yet or not. We have another personnel issue in that arena that we probably want to talk about offline at some point in time.
But if they still doing the grant presentation on 22, so there should be some clarity on it.
I don't know. I'm not confident with what I'm hearing at this point. I'm not comfortable giving you that I can give you good advice on this yet. I want to, if the money's there, we can get our portion, our third of that, and use that to buy equipment. That's what we'll do. But that grant, to me, was originally written for a specific vendor to do specific things. That was part of that. I'm just not sure. Did you read through it or no?
No.
Okay. We're working on it right now.
I know initially,
Yeah.
that's the way they were going, but it'd be nice if we could get
If we can get $1 million out of that, or $800,000 out of that, and do something with that, that would be a big deal for us. I agree.
The other thing is, we have 20% as a fund balance as a goal. But I believe the number is anything over 16% is healthy. So say 4% of,
I understand.
So we have a little wiggle room there, right?
Right.
Always do, well, not always, we do now, we do today.
Yeah, and I don't want to be irresponsible
We
with
do
fund
today.
balance.
We
but
definitely
that's-
do today, we definitely do today. It is a decision.
I will say this, and maybe it's too much, you can shoot me later. In the schedule last time on the estimate, we had budgeted, was it 1.7
1.7 or 1.9 on the estimate.
for out of appropriated fund balance? And you'll notice this
There's
time,
none.
Zero,
we didn't use it
we use it.
when we had
So-
budgeted.
I mean, essentially, we could balance the budget today with everything that's in there by pulling $1 million out of the general fund, and we'd be at 17%.
If you want to continue to have discussions similar to these as we go forward,
That's right.
you know, because.
You absolutely could do that.
Okay.
Well, let's skinny it down before we have that discussion.
Yeah, I think it's having a 20% fund balance makes this county incredible.
Yes, absolutely.
It's one of the things that was made the loan, the VRA loan, click like that.
Right.
Mhm.
We can make us healthy, we can be anorexic. Let me ask a question. So we got this
Oh.
here with the,
Oh, yeah.
or am I getting ahead of you?
No, no, you
It's good-
please,
good
because
time.
you may have forgotten.
So one of the things that seems to get a lot of attention each year is our local support. So the request came in this year, you can look on, somebody got the sheet. The request came in at 276,000. We went through and just took a stab at it. This is, we took a stab at it.
You can go up, you can go
Go up,
down.
down, going where you want it, but it just will affect the budget.
Mhm.
So we came back, what we have been doing is around $125,000. So you can look at what we recommended and we can have discussions today, or we can have them at a different time. I'm happy, I want to make sure you see what kind of where we're at. The other option, I can give you is this: if you don't want to have a lot of discussions on it, we could assign $25,000 to each supervisor and let the supervisor decide what they want to do with those funds.
For each district?
Yeah.
What about the at large?
He can put it wherever he wants. Or you guys
He
can-
gets 4.
Can I save it?
Wait.
Give it
Oh,
back
he
to the
gets.
county? Can I save it and give it back to the
You
county?
can say and give back to the county. The other last option is, these are not, it's not mandated. These things they're very appreciated, but they're not mandated. So these are all decisions.
Well, what about this idea? So you're at 120, and you're saying give each one 25 for each district. What if you divided that by 4, but let the at-large be in the discussion with each of the, you see what I'm saying?
I'm
Does that-
fine with that, as long as we're
Because
saving
it's
money.
still,
I'm fine with
it's
it.
still going equally, because there's some little things on here, I know this is nickel and diamond, but there's Chestnut Creek School of the Arts.
That's part of a grant though.
Explain.
We get the Virginia part of the Humanities Award. And how much is that grant, Mitch? 10,000? I think it's like $10,000. And 45 of it goes to the Arts Council, and part of it goes to Chestnut Creek School of the Arts.
So it's not really our money.
We're getting the money back. on
Okay.
those.
So that's
Are there
good.
any others of those?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, that's okay.
Well, that's good to know.
I don't think so.
There's some pretty significant asks.
Blue Ridge Discovery Center, I could be mistaken, but that's not in Grayson County, that's in Smith County.
We send almost every 5th grader up there to that school. And so they had sent us a list of all the students year over year who go to the school. And I don't think the school gives them funding for that. So they sent, this is the first time they sent a request in. So I think it's located in Smith, but I think the majority of our 5th graders, I believe, attend.
Every 5th grader goes.
Okay.
And it was founded in Grayson County. It's housed in Smith County.
It's right near Grayson County, it's not very far.
You can hit a wedge to it.
I can't, but
I'll say that I appreciate y'all looking at this and skinnying it down, but I believe every dollar we put towards a community impact
like this, it multiplies. And one of the things that, like, $26,000 feedings America's Southwest Virginia, the $15,000 that proposed that directly helps the people with grocery store bills. I mean, every month they give away 400 to 500 meals.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's the same organization, but
It is.
right here, they
One
give
in
away
town?
400 meals a week and volunteers give it. And it's,
Are these different food banks and stuff, that's where they get their food from. So, Feeding America Southwest, they like the food for Providence, Food Bank, one for, Elk Creek, all those different organizations, that's where they get their food.
Grayson Highlands.
Grayson Highlands, Independence.
Just as a point of clarity, does the county completely fund the historical society? That's how they operate.
Yes, and if that ever goes down, Laura Bryant would like to come and speak to the board.
Laura,
what's
right?
that?
I think it's important,
Okay,
historic.
Historically, it has been.
yeah.
I know they're not all created equal, but, you know, one thought would be that all the community centers get the same amount, just to make it equal. I'm looking at this list, and if we split it up by supervisor, I don't know, did you all look to see if the agencies we're currently supporting, if it's distributed that way, or is it like all a couple of, like if we've been, you know what I'm saying? If my district only has a few listed here, and it's gonna take away from some of these that are used to getting this money.
Mhm.
Don't know that
That could be problematic.
Well, if there's 120 and we've established here that there's 9 of that is a grant for the Arts Council, so that takes that out of the equation, I would think.
Where are you getting on?
45.
45.
the Arts Council on Chestnut.
Arts and Chestnut Creek.
Well, I was just thinking, 120 grand, you're taking away 45.
No,
9,000.
45.
24, 45. I'm sorry. Okay.
So the total on this 120 is not coming out of our actual general fund?
So we'd be down to 100.
Yes, I'm right, or
Yes, you're right.
We'd be down to 150.
is there any more of those in there that,
No.
She said no.
What is Mount Rogers Community Improvement Club?
It's White Dog.
That's the community.
That's the community
Community
center.
center.
I mean, it's probably.
And you've also got
but we can
Chamber of
say
Commerce
the
in
others are
here,
getting 5.
which
So
is
just say
not
5,000
really,
for every community center.
I'm sorry,
the Chamber of Commerce
It's
is
a-
also
well,
in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's 3,000.
So-
And that's
That's what
a
they
little
were
different from us.
So we
Community
can cut
support.
Cox and Chapel down to 5, we can cut.
how so?
Because like River Team Club's.
So for me, the EDA ought to be paying that $8,000 to the Chamber of Commerce.
I like that idea.
Do what?
Because nothing can be more economic
Right.
development.
The EDA, and the Chamber has come in and been very active since Brantley and I got here. The EDA paying that 8,000 to the Chamber. I like that idea.
All right.
You like that?
$992,000.
There we go. And we'll be done, let's supper.
Yeah.
All right, what about the idea that the staff suggested that we divvy it up? It don't have to go 4 ways and use it at large like I suggested. I'm okay, but I would like to equally distribute these gifts in each community. And I think that's fair, and that's, and we're still, I know the Feeding America is in
And all,
my district, or is it in all districts?
isn't it?
Yeah, well, the Feeding America, they're the food source for these different food banks. So
That could be your 25.
yeah, that'd be Hands of Grace. There's
Is Hands of Grace on here? Okay, there it is. Yeah, so there's 20 of mine right there.
Then you got your historical society, you're done, you're in the hole.
Those could be.
Well.
Those are his, right?
That's
No, I
your
don't
district.
know, you get to
That's
do what you
your
want.
district. You're,
Well, I may have to trim something
you gotta sit
down
on the
here.
sidelines now.
I'm already in the hole.
Dad, can I ask you a question? If we get the EDA to pay the $8,000 to the Chamber of Commerce, can we add that to Feeding Southwest because it's helping so many of the local food banks?
These food banks have to pay for that.
Yeah.
So
There was.
what about giving it to these local food banks to buy from people?
Well, and over at Elk Creek, there's a leak, there's a really bad leak the lady
Yeah.
called me about.
Yeah.
And, are you aware of the leak at the Elk Creek School and the roof where they store,
Back in the pantry.
they store food, I guess? I hadn't go to look at it, but I just suggested she get an estimate and then tell us, and then we'll figure out if there's
Are they on this
anywhere.
list?
They're,
Well,
Hands of Grace food.
The building actually belongs to the Elk Creek Fire Department, but the Hands of Grace has a long-term dollar lease or something like that.
So, and they have to maintain it.
Mike, you brought up a good point about the Feeding America Southwest. What benefit are we getting giving them the money? Should we be divvying that money up between each food bank? Because they've got to buy it anyway. Off of that, we're giving them the money and then we're turning around and having to buy it. Do we have to?
It's a good
Are
point.
we definitive though that, Feeding America doesn't set up one day a week? Cause I know.
They set up in Providence, Mike. Did they not do that anymore, Providence?
These are,
Grayson,
I don't know about how Providence operates theirs. I know that we buy Hands of Grace.
Yeah, they may set up at Grayson Highlands.
they're setting up
thinking-
Grayson Highlands
I'm
and
used to them setting up at a location within the county and giving out food. And I think that's what that money is.
unless they've stopped it there. There were two locations. that did
Well,
that.
then, yeah, we need to rethink that.
But we need to cut them down. We don't need to be, if they've got two locations, we should give them the same as we give the Hands of Grace location. And we're giving them 15,000 and Hands of Grace, we're giving 5, so we should cut that down.
Let me double check with them. I'll call and just follow
I
up
know this
on
is
that.
good.
And the Hope Snack Packs is part of the, Hands of Grace does that during the summer. They feed a lot of kids and it's a good program. It's not just a fruit roll up and a pack of nabs.
So they provide,
I like naps.
I do too.
3 meals a day. So they distribute every 2 weeks, and but they provide enough food for 3 meals a day throughout the summer.
So
If you did-
I guess my question, so did Feeding America Southwest, did they make a request?
That's the middle column.
Requested.
They requested 26.
Recommendation would be 11.
So that came directly, so that's,
All of the requests came directly from the agencies.
They used to come to the board and present every year. And that's how we got to the 26,000.
and, I guess we gotta, what I'm trying to figure out is how we help our people buy the food that we're giving $26,000 to, I mean, I know it's all charitable, but you,
Are you saying you'd like to take so the recommendation was 15, you wanna take that 11,000, split it up between the other two, the food bank and the Hope Snack Packs? Like 5,500 to each of them, make it more level playing ground?
yeah, something like that. Cause if we're giving them 15,000 and then down here we're giving Hands of Grace, isn't there another food bank? Is it not
And
on?
so I missed one.
What's the one here in town?
Feeding Independence, it's not even on here.
I know.
And I don't see one performance.
So I guess my thought was that we should fund our people so they can buy the food, but do we still need to make a contribution to the Southwest so they can?
Yeah.
She
She thinks that they
Checking
may,
on it.
yeah, she's gonna check on, she thought they may be operating 2 food banks. They may do the one at Providence and one at Grayson Highlands
Okay.
also.
That's what I'm used to. Is
And I-
them bringing their truck with a bunch of food and handing out at a
And that's
location.
what they've been doing in Grayson County unless they've stopped.
Yeah.
But
Actually-
Nikki, I have down in the notes that Nikki's gonna call Southwest Feeding America and find out exactly what they're doing in Grayson County.
Because the ones that are currently active are very active. The one here in town, the one at Elk Creek are two, those two I know a lot about, but
So there's at least two here that aren't listed, is that?
so Like
Freeze and Elk Creek, or Freeze and Independence.
Independence is not on here, and East Metro Providence is not.
So currently, we're not
But-
financially helping those guys.
I thought we did, but I don't see it.
I don't remember seeing it before. I didn't know they still had it.
I like the staff's recommendation. I'm happy to split it up and all of us figure out where it's gonna go, but I mean, we're not gonna solve the big issues by going through
With
this.
these little, yeah.
But right, this is nickel and diamond, but I think just to be fair to the taxpayers as we can, if we did make sure each community's getting,
I don't disagree with that.
All right, you ready? I don't even have to call. Sorry, my apologies, I have the request right here. Feeding Southwest Virginia Mobile Food Pantry distributes truckloads of groceries monthly at White Top and Freeze, Providence, and Grayson to ensure our neighbors across the county have access to the food they need.
Okay, so they're doing.
Funding will allow the mobile food pantry to continue its monthly distributions at White Top and Freeze, Providence.
so we don't probably tinker with that.
No. This means 1,820 Grayson County residents, including 340 children.
So that.
And we've already tinkered with it. That's what,
Yeah, the
we're
15.
cut them by $9,000.
We can tinker back and put it back in there.
Well, if we get the EDA,
Yeah.
like you said, to, if we recommend, we can't tell them what to do, we can recommend. They help us with the,
It also says that they work with Hands
Change.
of Grace Food Bank and Food Independence Food Pantry.
Yeah, that's where they get their food from.
yeah.
Do they sell
So-
it y'all
Is it
at
cheaper?
reduced rate?
Sell it so much by pound.
Is it cheaper than what you could probably buy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And all these folks that do this are volunteers.
Yeah, I hate to cut them.
Okay.
I know Elk Creek, they probably feed 1,200 people.
They're gonna feel
The 8,000
they're gonna feel the effects of that cuts.
So that's,
Okay.
If the EDA agrees to pay the 8,000 for the chamber, I think we should help out Food Independence with 5,000, just like.
Well,
Or you could do
They-
2,000
they-
per district.
they help feed independence.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's helping the entire county.
right, so was your recommendation, if we took that, if the EDA comes out, take that 8 and put it over to that 15,
Yeah, okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, everybody else.
Mhm. Mhm.
So in actuality, those
That
weren't
one
in my
snack packs
district.
got cut. Do what now?
I said in actuality, that 15,000 wasn't my district, that was White Top and Freeze.
And feed independence.
But yeah, I wasn't gonna point that out. Right?
Do you want to take the snack packs back to 5?
Is that the,
Yes,
is that the,
feed the kids over
Yeah.
through the summer. program.
yeah, let's,
Kids don't get fed
whatever
whenever
they're
they're at
asking
school.
for.
Back to Mary's, just so I'm clear what what it was. Our community clubs, community centers, are you wanting to equalize those some way? I see Cox is on here at 8. Obviously Freeze is on here at 10.
It's probably, it was just an idea, it
Mount
was just a
Rogers on
thought, but it may be
8.
a better question for the individuals from those districts.
The Grange is at 6.
The range is at 6.
And then keep in mind, Freeze actually requested 91.
Is,
That's their full operational budget for the year.
Ah,
Flat Ridge, is it on here?
no.
Flat Ridge Community Center? And
They want their bill. Yeah, I think we talked about that.
but they won't ask if we turn it over, right?
No, that's their big thing, they want the place.
And if we were able to do something with the Baywood School, would that eliminate, but it obviously eliminate fuel and electric, right?
And more.
And lower,
Okay,
about 15,000 to 20,000 bucks a year.
okay. But we don't, is that something that EDA could also, I mean, we can't sell property as a county, correct? We have to do it through the EDA?
You
or
can,
market
but
it
you
through
have to
the
have
EDA?
public hearings.
I know we bounced that around in the past,
Who
but
has the title?
let Flat Ridge have the,
Do we have the title?
We got the time.
Mitch has got it in his pocket.
No. I wouldn't be caught, but,
Did we just change it?
It just got changed last
too much history that time.
Yeah, we probably need to see that as a board, what that says, because there's a lot of different thoughts about that.
What's the cost to the Bridle Creek School, to the county every month? Or year?
I don't know, Mitch.
Right, great.
The school board owns it, but obviously the county's
It's
Pays
still
the
paying.
board. Well, that's another thing we need to give credit for.
What do you mean?
The school board still owns that property, right? That's what I was told.
That if they ever choose to let the Bridle Creek School go back to the church.
Just go. Well,
Frank,
We'll go back to the church.
And then that opens up, well, what about Mount Rogers School? I know the expenses are probably not gonna be as much as they would because there's no heat on, but there is mowing. They've got the group up there, the Heritage Center group. I don't know.
Well,
Do
the
they
Bridle
charge
Creek
money there?
School is a little bit different. I know because I go to church at Bridle Creek. The family donated that to the county, and who has the deed, whether it's the school board or the county, I don't know. But if it ever stops being used for educational or religious purposes, it's supposed to go back to the heirs of the family, and we're going back to the 1700s at this point.
that's how.
Well, it's
they
supposed to
went.
go back to the church.
Is it
And
still
I can't
written that
speak
way?
for the whole church, but the last time when they shut it down, the church didn't want to own the building. So now there were still some activities going on from the school, like I think wrestling was there before the blue building got built. But I mean, that's a property that it needs to be torn down. You can't do anything.
I heard some bad.
It's this in rough.
Pretty pitiful.
Yeah. The only thing that goes on there is there's some private softball pitching lessons that go on about every afternoon there. And we don't need to open up a can of worms, but I'm just speaking.
Well, you said that is that the church it wouldn't go to the church if the church was.
I can't speak for the church today, but in the past, the church had no interest in owning the.
Well, of course not.
I don't know about the rest of
Yeah,
everybody,
property.
but my opinion is if the county's not using these properties and it's costing us money,
Give them.
my opinion is we should make action and do something with it. Flat Ridge School, they're wanting that school, the community center. I realize they're probably gonna have to do a 501c3 and all that, et cetera. I don't think they have that. I've asked that question. But they're helping the community. They're doing things. They're maintaining it with their own money that they raise. They need to put a heating system in there. I think we should give that to the communities. You know,
We can give it to the EDA.
I think we need to come up with a plan for these things because we shouldn't just be spending money on them with
I agree.
just to spend money.
I don't know what the group's called now, but Hope that Jordan was with. He come there with Kristen and looked at Bridle Creek and different buildings. Might still be some projects that they, county signed it over to them.
Well, I learned this with Baywood and White Top, and if the county's going to invest money in these buildings, you're not going to make everybody in the county happy. Just because we have the building doesn't mean we have to invest money into it. I agree with Supervisor Cornett that we could come up with a plan to get these off of our books.
And I think like using that Hope group, there can be a big benefit to our citizens without tax dollars being involved.
In other words, if they could still partner with Hope
Private investors
without
do more with them.
us being involved.
What happened with that Whitewater?
And it might be- it
that
would-
we had last year.
It would be more successful.
You remember that meeting with Whitewater?
Yeah.
Tracy thinks
They're out.
they're out.
And I've been to 3 of those meetings at White Top to talk about the Mount Rogers School, and they want to keep it there because of all the history there, but the community's not going to come up with the money or the ideas of how to spend the money, and I don't think the county should be coming up with that kind of money.
Now, back to Baywood and Jordan Stidham and all, you remember in the meetings that he presented down there. As a matter of fact, there's a letter that can be sent out to the Rogers Planning District July 1st requesting some of that grant funding that he talked about down there. In my recollection, the first phase was completely grant funded if he could get all of those grants. And he put in more.
It's not the first phase that gets the county though.
You said if,
Yeah.
And he, yeah,
that's an if.
well,
It is.
And
what
I
I'm saying is, if you give it to somebody, they can still
They
take
can still
advantage of
take
his plan.
that's right. We can,
And it wouldn't be.
I think
that would be up to them to do that.
I think it's a ridiculous discussion for us to be sitting here talking about spending money in schools whenever we have rescue squads going broke.
That's right.
That can,
And
whenever
stories.
somebody calls 911, they're wondering if somebody's gonna show up.
And that plan included childcare, so maybe somebody takes this on and still goes with that plan and they get something up and going.
Well, we gotta find a taker.
Well, were you serious about giving it to the EDA?
Oh, I don't even know if we can do that, but I mean, that is economic development
Why
problem.
can't, we've already done it, you can do it again.
And let them find.
They could partner with
You can give it to
somebody,
the EDA.
coordinate the partnerships. I would think the EDA could coordinate partnerships.
The
to-
EDA
to take
owns
that.
Mount Rogers right now because the board at that time gave it to them.
So if they took that, well, we'd still be paying the light bill and the gas bill. But the EDA could pay that, I guess.
So
Which
they
is
found-
us.
My thought is Jordan, just,
Pull him
this
back
is just
into
me,
it.
pull him in, see if he thinks he could do anything.
It's still gonna ask for county funding. I mean, every time, like, phase one, phase two, you get covered with grants, it's
Mhm.
phase three, and then in perpetuity is what gets the county.
Oh, I'm saying the county not own it. My
Yeah, like-
understanding is in Carroll County, the Woodlawn School, I could be wrong, you probably know more about it than me, they gave it to him, the county didn't
Yeah, there's apartments up there. There's
spend money.
Yeah, and his organization, I don't know if he's involved in it, right, maybe, redid that. There's nice apartments in
Nice
there.
apartments up there.
Hope did that.
Yeah, but those are, low income.
Low income. You know, one of the things,
And they get some tax credits to help fund that. Not the county, but the company that did it, and I can't recall it right now.
So- Would it be okay to ask staff to reach out to Jordan and see if he could take some buildings off our hands?
See
If there's interest.
what our options are.
Yeah, see what our options are, not making commitments that we're gonna give it to them, but look into options. Whether it's with him, whether it's with somebody else, whether it's selling
They were
Well,
Mount Rogers, is that?
Bridle Creek.
It's
Mount Rogers
selling
already
pretty
has
property.
Yeah, there may be some legal stuff with that one.
Yeah.
Hard to handle.
On Baywood and Mount Rogers.
We couldn't,
But we don't own Rock Creek. School still got to dig on it.
yeah, and we don't,
Is it operating as a school?
Is the school paying the expenses on it?
As far as I know.
That's why I was asking about Bridle Creek.
Yeah,
Is it still a school?
they've never given us a deed. on it.
They-
It closed in '08, somewhere around there.
Well, they're required to give you the deed after it's ceasing to be a
They
school.
would say that there's still things going on there, wrestling and softball pitching and storage.
Well,
but that's private.
think-
softball.
that, I think the school system used that as their mitigation property for the football field too, so. That might not be a can of worms that we even need to ask questions about.
I just know they've never brought the title like they did Baywood and said, here you are, here's your gift.
Yeah, they might be out of compliance.
You remember that supervisor, right?
Are selling those properties something you want the EDA to even consider?
Yeah. All things, whatever our options are, I mean,
All options.
yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely need
goal
to do
be-
something,
Get those expenses off of the counties.
the liability, yeah.
and hopefully make a community impact, not on the county's dime.
And it's a,
Positive.
That's-
impact.
you
So
know,
reach out to Jordan and the EDA for options on Baywood and Mount Rogers.
and maybe they partner. If it's the EDA, then they might be looking to market it or sell it or what.
Well, we did, my Rogers, it was marketed and put up for sale and.
Well, I was told there was people wanting to do it, but they didn't want to pay the price.
They didn't want to ask for.
I don't think we ever.
Tree growers for one.
I don't think we ever even got to a price.
Which one are you
That's
talking
what I
about?
was told. That would've been a while
Now,
back.
Rogers?
We had 0 people bringing in requests or to even talk about it.
Okay, so from the local support, am I clear on, are we clear on where we're going with this?
Here's mine. Now,
We're trying to get the EDA to bring and then transfer that into, Feeding America Southwest, right?
and get Hope Snack Packs up.
Yeah, a whole bunch of 5, and we're done with that? Is that, or we still want to have more discussion on that?
I just want to make sure these folks are in Grayson County.
That's 2 things I have never even noticed.
Well, West Ministries is engaged. Did you hear me say
No,
Bush
West
Ministries.
Ministries is engaged?
Okay,
The reason they come to us is because they serve Grayson County residents too. And the owner, the one that runs it's from Fairview.
And normally, the community impact grants aren't budgeted for, but I threw them in here just so we wouldn't go over budget on a line item.
We're trying to get everybody's, instead of doing the CIGs, process would be just to put it in on the front end, so we don't have these CIGs coming in, piecemeal in, you guys have to make it.
okay. What's the William King thing?
It's something that they request from every county, I think, in the state of Virginia. It's school.
Wayne Henderson.
William King Museum of Art.
Yeah, Wayne Henderson has something to do with it, over there where they have
Wait a minute.
some of his stuff.
They usually come in and do summer programs. Is what.
But it's over in Marion and Rabbiton and the board
Yeah,
never
it's
has.
not in Grayson.
It's in Marion or Rabbiton, but the board chose that there is
zeroed in out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's never been considered so far.
I didn't know if that was part of the other grant you had talked about up there under the Arts
Yeah.
Council in Chester Creek.
It's zeroed out.
That's why I saw that, okay.
And you may want to fund Preserve Grayson, because you haven't in the past.
We did one year.
Okay, so you may want to
Preserve Grayson or Grayson Lane Care?
preserve Grayson.
No, that's what I think.
Oh,
We gave them money for, water kit to test. I think the county bought the water testing kits,
Is that what it
if I
was?
recall.
I forgot.
Huh?
Yeah, I forgot. That's right. Good memory there, Mr. Chairman.
All right, our next meeting is May 7th, and we're gonna put a closed session on that. We can advertise for that. And is there anything else that the board wants to cover today?
So are we on track where, I guess, a little feedback from the board is, did we get accomplished what we think we should be accomplished? Are we on track, I guess is what I'm asking.
I think we're real close. We'll figure this.
I think we're heading in the right direction. We're getting closer.
Only $1 million on it.
Well, hey, from where you came from to where you are, I think is pretty amazing.
Carried over 1.9 last year. And we're not carrying over anything this week.
So,
Okay.
good job.
Okay, if I request a motion to adjourn.
So,
Second. And first and second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
hey, Brett, he works for you.
Huh?
He works for you.
Uh-huh.
thank y'all for coming.